eggs are in one basket. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. And through our friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account.
Text the word SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Text SHELTER to 989898 today.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial-free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
It's 5:12. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and this update is service of Bank of America. Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America NA, copyright 2024. On this back to school Tuesday for many in the area, not a whole lot of problems out there. The only big problem, police activity investigating a shooting on Fullerton between North Central and Laramie in the city of Chicago. That shooting investigation continues. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and sun, a shower in the area this afternoon, high today 84. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 66. Sun and clouds tomorrow, the high 86. For Thursday, clouds and humid, shower and a heavy thunderstorm, the high 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
65 and clear at O'Hare, clear 66 at Midway, clear 56 in Aurora, 65 in Waukegan, 58 in Kankakee. Your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answers starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and healthcare, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Wow, she loves it. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I'm talking about a woman that I met at the pool. Arthritis robbed her of so much, but there's effective ways to deal with that pain without drugs or surgery. She went to QC Kinetics. They use cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizes your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain like my new friend I met at the pool, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Call them today for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process, tell you how it all works. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee, and Saturday appointments are available. 312-809-5955. Write it down, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Right now, Bettenhausen has 0% on new Jeeps during the Make This the Summer event at Bettenhausen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, now open on 159th Street in Lockport. Celebrate summer with a new Jeep. Bettenhausen has 0% financing available on new Jeep Cherokees, new Jeep Wranglers, or new Jeep Compasses. Hurry into Bettenhausen in Lockport. Your best Jeep buying experience starts now at Bettenhausen. Showroom open 24/7 at cdjroflockport.com.
You hear more and more about identity theft in the news every day. That's because so much of your personal info is out of your control, like your insurance provider that has your social security number and your favorite retailer that has your payment details. If they get breached, your information's vulnerable. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code PLAY at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Get ready to turn up the summer vibes at Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells and let the good times roll. Dive into your wildest dreams of adventure through awesome water parks, chill in sun-soaked pools, and keep the whole family smiling. Take on our epic water slides, soar like an eagle from our enormous zip lines, and swing into our world-class golf course. From sunrise to sunset, Chula Vista Resort is buzzing with excitement. Refuel and transport your taste buds to the flavor paradise of our #1 steakhouse in Wisconsin. Chula Vista Resort, where adventure and relaxation collide into your unique summer getaway. Call 1-800-388-4782 or visit chulavistaresort.com. Chula Vista Resort, the latest chapter in your epic summer story.
For a chance to win an overnight stay, please visit 560theanswer.com, keyword summer. That's 560theanswer.com, keyword summer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan. All right, let's try that again. Okay, reverb. Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The interview that Brett Baer did with Dan Goldman last night. Did anybody catch Special Report? Because it was a good example of what you're dealing with respect to the left. Dan Goldman, of course, is one of the most obnoxious members of Congress. Definitely honorary socialist Spice Girl, if nothing but for his commitment to the lyrics. And this was the back and forth between Baer and Goldman on debates and whether or not Mamala is going to agree to more than one of them.
She'll answer plenty of questions, and I'm sure she'll do it on unfriendly networks, unlike her opponent, Donald Trump.
Well, I think Senator Vance went on 3 Sunday shows this weekend, and I'm sure for the former president, he also did a debate on CNN. As for debates, do you think that there's only going to be one? Do you think that she'll agree to other debates? Have you heard anything inside the campaign?
Look, if Donald Trump is not too chicken to show up on September 10th, which he had agreed to, I believe that Vice President Harris will be happy to have additional debates after that. If I'm Donald Trump, I understand why he doesn't want to debate. Kamala Harris is
he's accepted 3.
Prosecutor.
He said yes to September 4th, September 10th, September 17th. He said yes to a lot of them. So it's not that he's obviously afraid to debate.
No. So no. He had agreed to September 10th. Well, on ABC.
With Biden, who got pushed out.
What's the difference? Why should he not debate whoever the candidate is on September 10th as he agreed to? What is the difference between candidate Biden and candidate Harris?
He said he would do it. I'm just saying he's also agreed to other debates. You said he hasn't agreed to others. He has. It's the Kamala Harris campaign that hasn't agreed on the other side.
No. He should do the debate that was originally scheduled for September 10th. If he shows up to that, you can't trust Donald Trump to show up to anything. He'll do September 4th on Fox, get with his supporters in the audience, and then he'll just say no more debates. You can't trust Donald Trump.
We're not going to debate. We're not going to debate here, and we're not going to negotiate here. But they said no audience potentially. There were all kinds of negotiations that were.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of debates. I'm sure also Kamala Harris will be very ready for them. As a former prosecutor, she knows how to stand up to bullies like Donald Trump, and I look forward to whatever debates they have.
Does that sound very similar to any sort of never Trumper or just man or woman of the left in your life? The moving target. First, you say something that's just factually false, and it's well established that it's false, that there's no agreement on that Donald Trump is afraid to debate. Well, so that's corrected. Well, what I'm saying is that if she agreed to the September 4th debate with Fox, that would be a home game for Trump, and then he would just say, okay, no more debates. I'm canceling the 2 that I previously agreed to.
He's not going to do that. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And that same number you can text us on. But one thing, I mean, why did they even let him on the air on Fox? He should be banned from the list of people.
Why? Dan Goldman? Yeah. No, you want him on the air. I want Dan Goldman to talk as much as possible. You want the most obnoxious, ham-handed propagandists to be the mouthpieces for your opponent, don't you? Well, that Dan Goldman fits that bill. And by the way, this is not the first foray we've heard from Dan Goldman in this direction. I mean, he is somebody that is willing to say anything. Another former prosecutor like Adam Schiff, former prosecutor. Here's something else, just as a quick aside. Do not fall in love with people that have, I'm a law and order person because I'm a former prosecutor. Kamala Harris is a former prosecutor. Kim Fox will be a former prosecutor in a few months.
Lori Lightfoot.
Lori Lightfoot.
This goes on and on.
We always, somebody was in a district attorney or state's attorney or a U.S. attorney or in the U.S. attorney's office. They must be law and order, by the book, Joe Friday. Nonsense. And it's growing more obvious that is nonsense with each passing day. Dan Goldman, remember Dan Goldman's spin on Biden lying? One liar, basically a preternatural liar. One preternatural liar covering for another. The big guy's lying about meeting baby boy Hunter's associates. So he lied about it. Hunter lied about it. Everybody lied about it except Tony Bobolinsky, apparently. And then they've got the phone call, right? And they essentially concede that the phone call happened. Hunter Biden with associates that he's, attempting to wheel and deal in terms of selling access. And the big guy calls, and this was Dan Goldman's spin on that when that was in controversy.
Doesn't that contradict the president's statement saying that he never talked to any of Hunter Biden's business associates? Clearly he talked, whether about the weather or whatever, but he said specifically that he's never talked to them. Doesn't this contradict them?
I don't know what his comment is, and if we're going to, I don't think that's what he said. He never said that he has never spoken to anyone. He said that he had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's business dealings. If he says hello to someone that he sees his son with, is he supposed to say, "Hi, son"? Oh, no, I'm not going to say hello to the other people at the table or the other people on the phone. It's kind of a preposterous premise to think that a father should not say hello to people that the son is at dinner with, and that is literally all the evidence is.
Right. Can a dad say hi to his son and his friends? By the way, Dan Goldman, again, just stating something that was well known at the time to be false, which is that Biden never said he never talked to Hunter Biden's associates, just said he didn't deal with him. That's not what he said. He said he never talked to him. Explicitly said it. On the record. Doesn't matter. So I guess I raised the prospect of Dan Goldman here in the last 90-odd days of the campaign. If there's a Dan Goldman like this in your life, don't bother. Don't
Just
bother.
walk away.
Find somebody that you could have a productive conversation with, whether it's just within your social circles or you're walking door to door or on social media. If you run into a Dan Goldman, these are the signs. Right. Just remember this exchange with Bret Baier. Remember that previous exchange on Biden Incorporated, and just walk away from the Dan Goldmans in your life, at least as it pertains to discussing politics. Just a bit of mental health advice from me.
Dan Goldman, I mean, for him to say, well, Trump's afraid, she's a former prosecutor. He's not afraid of her. He'd have even more. I mean, come on. He's just spewing lies.
The other thing, too, I mean, just as an aside, we had another aside. We discussed a little bit about Vance having a chance to pounce on Waltz when they debate by going right after him, right to the middle of the ring, and throwing hands on this issue of Waltz ridiculing and caricaturing Vance's Horatio Alger story. Oh, yeah, like everybody, I went to an Ivy League school, and I had friends going to Ivy League schools, and then had my career bankrolled by Silicon Valley billionaires and so on and so forth. I mean, it's an attack on meritocracy, which is anti-American. Trump has a similar opportunity with respect to these misfits of misinformation like Dan Goldman, because it turns out that the nominee, Mamala, is one of them as well. And it is on Biden. I know you can't spend too much time on Biden and the flacking that was done for Biden, but it is a judgment call. And I think unless she does the Fox debate, this is not a question that's going to be put to her. It's going to be incumbent upon Trump to do it. So were you just that dense? Were you just that oblivious to the president's condition and his inability to be a candidate at minimum? I would argue a candidate and a president. I don't know how you can be one and not the other. Or were you lying when you said over and over again?
We have a very bold and vibrant president in Joe Biden.
But a majority of Americans, a majority of Democrats, according to our new poll, say they don't want President Biden to run again. What do you say to them?
I mean, George, I think that age is more than a chronological fact, to be very frank with you. It's about thinking about whether we have in our leader, which we do in Joe Biden, somebody who is bold. I mean, think about it. And in Joe Biden, we have a president who is probably one of the boldest and strongest American presidents we have had in his response to the needs of
there's a good 5 to 10 minutes of examples of that, because of course Kamala, like the rest of them, just rinse and repeat, and they do the circle of friendly media outlets to offer their testimony in service of whatever the issue du jour is or the person du jour is. But I would like to see Trump go after her on that.
Yeah, I remember all the governors, Governor Walz, Governor Pritzker, they had the meeting at the White House with Biden and came out and said, he's fine, he's fit for office. It was all a big lie, big cover-up.
Len in Highland Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning. Dan Goldman is the wrong way peach fuzz of Congress. If I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember wrong way peach fuzz, but if you ever watch him in a congressional hearing, he inadvertently makes the argument better for the other side. It's amazing to watch. He's got to be one of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen. And I've watched him 100 times now, testifying or grilling people. He's a complete goofball. And I don't think he knows the difference between right and wrong. I don't know how people like him get to be where they're at, but they're there, and it scares the absolute living crap out of me. And
he beclowns himself many times.
He's unbelievable. I've never seen, and I grew up in a Jewish community. They're the smartest people on earth, and he's
there
just
are exceptions.
Well, believe me, they gravitate to me. But he is unbelievable. And I got a big loop this morning. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks for the call on Fairways and Greens. Yeah.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The big Musk-Trump confab at 5:38.
But first, let's stop into the newsroom. Here's Mike.
It's 5:32 on AM 560. The Answer. A ship in the Red Sea has been targeted in a third attack from suspected Houthi rebels. The attacks come as Yemeni rebels' main sponsor, Iran, weighs possible retaliation against Israel. A private security firm confirms the same ship was targeted in all three attacks. The pilot of the plane that crashed down in Brazil last week has been buried in Sao Paulo, becoming the first person laid to rest among the 62 victims. Despite technical issues, Elon Musk's conversation with former President Donald Trump on X went on for over 2 hours Monday night.
Like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. She's not a smart person, by the way.
The talk was supposed to begin around 8 Eastern time, but did not take place for about another hour due to what Musk later claimed was a distributed denial of service attack. White House is backing eliminating taxes on tips for hospitality and service workers. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
If you think about what the president has talked about the last 3.5 years, making sure that we have an economy that works for all, not leaving anybody behind, an economy that's built from the bottom up, middle out, the president has been fighting, and the vice president has been fighting to do just that.
Harris, during a campaign rally over the weekend, vowed to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips. But that is a policy first suggested by former President Donald Trump months ago. Several states will hold primaries today.
Voters will go to the polls Tuesday in Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. In Minnesota, Progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar will defend her seat against former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels. The contest comes after two other members of the so-called Progressive Squad, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, lost their Democratic primaries this cycle. In Wisconsin, Republicans will choose a candidate to run against Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, who is running for a third Senate term. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The FDA ordering a recall of powdered baby formula sold at CVS pharmacies and H-E-B grocery stores in 12 states. Perrigo Company says it's recalled over 16,000 cans of store-brand premium infant formula with iron milk-based powder because they contain too much vitamin D. It's a big day. Back to school for many high school districts in the area and in Northwest Indiana. For dozens of others later this week. To be safe out there. A man critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood this morning. A 46-year-old man was wounded. And Dalton's deputy police chief faces federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Louis Lacey has been indicted by a federal grand jury over allegations of engaging in a scheme to conceal assets and income from creditors in order to prevent payment of a lawsuit settlement. Prosecutors say Lacey filed for bankruptcy in 2019 and 2020. That stopped enforcement of a settlement from 2017.
He has been serving the community. He has been a police officer for many years. He has been an outstanding citizen of the city of Dalton or the village of Dalton.
Lacey's attorney believes the indictment is political retaliation because he is an ally of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the target of her own federal investigation. Cubs trailed late and try to come back but still lost to Cleveland 9-8 last night. Well, the White Sox unloaded a season's worth of frustration on the Yankees, winning 12-2 yesterday. The news service of Blue Stars Security. Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you and your business at bluestarsecurityllc.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk believes the rot runs deep.
As we marched through these institutions for many years, I soon realized, one after the other, the rot that our institutions have been experiencing, the infection that is present, the tumor within the once great institutions in Washington, D.C.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights. It is time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools. How can we subject our loved ones to forced, ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings? You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, we have operated a Christian school now in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com, ChristianLiberty.com.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
5:39, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It's a service of almostfreeteeth.com with a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP. It's possible to save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back. Almostfreeteeth.com. Kennedy locking up Foster to Lawrence this morning, 25 into the Burns Circle interchange. Dan Ryan Express lanes already hitting the brakes inbound at Pershing. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sunshine today. There may be an afternoon shower. High of 84. Currently clear skies and 65. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So last night was the much anticipated X chat between tech mogul Elon Musk and former President Trump. 10 million people. I think it was like the largest X deal of that sort in X history. Well, not surprising. 10 million people, I guess, tuned in for all or part of it. One friend of mine said Elon Musk is a better tech mogul than he is an interviewer. Yeah, that was my sense of it from the bit of it that I caught as well.
A little folksy. I mean, it's like two guys chatting. Really, I didn't feel as if it was a professional sit-down interview. I mean, take Elon Musk for what he is. He is a tech mogul. He's not a journalist, but he's a guy who is converted, who used to be a Democrat, who's now a Republican. And
I don't think he's a Republican. I think he's supporting Trump, but that doesn't make him a Republican, number one. Number two, yeah, you don't need to be a journalist to ask good questions or be an interesting conversationalist. And number three, he wasn't. That's my view. It's all sort of very much like this sort of exchange. This was fun because Trump made it fun, but it's just sort of like mindless. Like, get to a point. Yeah, it's 2
hours long. I mean,
so what? It's 2 guys having a conversation, but make it interesting for the audience. Keep their attention.
And that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this, maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
that slide. That slide saved your
right.
life.
No, the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was
It's funny, but it was sort of like, what was that like? It was like Cliff Clavin doing comedy. Hey, what's up with that? That assassination attempt. What was that like? Pretty scary. Yeah. Thank you. This too. I mean, Musk, for all his brain power in certain sectors. I mean, this exchange about government spending, and Trump tells a story about a plane that Boeing was going to charge the government $5.7 billion for. He got down by $1.6 billion for the same plane, and they waste so much money, and then Musk volunteers to head up a government efficiency commission.
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Yeah, great. Great. Yeah. Musk
more
will
government. Let's do it.
Musk will be on a Zoom call for a blue ribbon task force that's about government efficiency and making sure that $5 trillion is spent judiciously once a month, and that's going to be a game changer. I mean, we've had how many times do you have to listen to this grade school pap? Al Gore, remember Al Gore was in charge of Bill Clinton's reinventing government task force. How did that end up turning out? I mean, when you have heavyweights of this sort, together, talk about big ideas, talk about big things, talk about systemic change. I thought this campaign was a revolt against the established order. I thought that's what the last 9 years has been, a revolt against the established order, and they're tinkering on the margins of $1 billion more or less that the Pentagon spends on Boeing. I mean, I'm fine with, the Pentagon being overhauled and getting real green eye shades guys in there, and every other agency in government, fine. But I mean, that is missing the forest for the twigs. And I just found most of what I listened to particularly banal. I know, the Trump world and the Twitterverse and all the usual suspects are, falling all over themselves to fawn, to be fawning to Elon Musk in addition to, of course, Trump. But I just thought it was sort of a wasted opportunity and will dissipate into the ether. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA. Oh, no, the same number. I keep doing that.
I know. It's
same
years.
number for the text.
So it sounds like you think he shouldn't have done the interview at all. Because I wasn't disappointed in the interview because I wasn't expecting a lot. I mean, I knew. But you think he should have still done it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's a missed opportunity. It's like, should he have given the speech at the RNC? Yeah. Should he have gone on for an hour and a half? No. Of course he should have given the speech. He should have used the opportunity to be tight, 20 minutes, bang, gone. Same thing here. This is the more frustrating thing to me about Trump and the way that he communicates, the opportunities he misses, more so than the hyperbole and the sort of the the venal, the tangents into the venal about this personality or that personality. It's a missed opportunity to remind people when you've got 10 million people in this X forum what this is all about. Instead, you're going back and forth, polishing each other's apples. It's annoying. Bob in Buffalo Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Always good talking to you. Last night, I listened to all of the interview. It was 2 hours long.
I know.
Yeah, it was almost as long as his RNC speech. I know.
It was like one of his speeches. Well, while listening, I was also monitoring the Twitter feed and the live feedback from some of the contacts. They were responding and critiquing the address. And one of the key individuals was Steve Malloy, the climate activist, host of the Jump Science program. I hope you might have him on your program to discuss Musk's comments, because he took strong exception with Musk and the CO2 emissions.
Yeah, right. Well, Musk is, Musk is a complicated figure, right? He's basically the subsidy king, and and he's a rent seeker by definition, and his business runs afoul of some of the more free market oriented among us. I mean, we'll see what John Tammany has to say later in the show, because he's sort of an apologist for Musk, even though he's a free marketeer, and I'll tell him, and we've argued about it before, so I'll say the same thing to his face, which I've said before. But yeah, I mean, Musk's posture towards the Chinese Communist Party. What is it? It's I put my business interests first, and so I sidle up to the Chi-Coms that are in charge of that country. So, I mean, that's why I say, like, I appreciate. I mean, so that's let's get the full picture. What Musk has done in paying 2x what he should have paid for Twitter, and being a unyielding proponent of free speech is awesome. And maybe that dwarfs some of his other, what I would call, failings, or at least things I disagree with. Maybe that dwarfs it all. So there's some great things. I mean, obviously he's a brilliant guy and he's a great entrepreneur, and so on and so forth. But it's a complicated picture. It's a complicated picture. I'm not a fanboy, and frankly, the fanboys, because you do one thing well, so you're sort of relieved of any scrutiny. Now you're beyond reproach. No, and by the way, since I want Trump to win, I want him to be better. It's like,
but how can we get to him?
It's well, we're not going to get to him.
Okay, so then you have to endure these hour-long conversations.
Well, but
that
no,
go in circles.
Well, that or you. Well, right. I mean, it's sort of like what we talked about with his appearance at the Black Journalist Convention in Chicago. Okay, so now we have to fill in, and within your social circles, translate.
Right.
That's basically it.
You are the best Trump translator east of the Mississippi.
Yeah, right.
No, you are.
Thanks for the call, Bob.
But I went to Mar-a-Lago. He was supposed to speak for 5 minutes, Dan. 72 minutes later, he was still talking and repeating stories after stories. So
But it's one thing in a like at a fundraiser, an event that's private, and people want to hear him tell stories and go off this riff and that riff and take shots at people. That's fine. The venue matters. Yeah. At a fundraiser, Mar-a-Lago, do whatever you want. When you have an audience of 10 million people, you're the candidate for president of the United States. Take advantage of it. Make it interesting for those 10 million people. Give them something that they take away more than that you like Elon and Elon likes you, that they can then use in their conversations and social media posts and the like. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, Dan. Good morning, Dan and Amy, and thanks for taking my call. I got a significant. Initially, I was thinking just like you're thinking on this and that, but the electorate is very dumb, and I think that this whole conversation between Elon and Trump, either by accident or intentionally, it was really dumbed down, repeating stuff over and over for a dumb electorate. So maybe just lucky. There's people that just needed to have it that way. Didn't really do a lot for you and I and a lot of others that are I'm for Trump anyway, no matter what he did there and everything like that. But I'm thinking it might have benefited him with a lot of dumb people. And for that, I'm thinking, We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan?
Well, maybe. Thanks for calling. I know. I mean, there's a lot of, political consultants will tell you that basically all your campaign communications have to be like at a 6th grade reading level. It's not really my philosophy, but I suppose I understand it to some extent. And I don't think, there's nothing fatal about the confab between Musk and Trump last night. It doesn't hurt him, except to the extent I think it was a missed opportunity to really focus in on a couple, 2 or 3 things, develop them, and get people talking about the 2 or 3 things that he wants people to be thinking about and talking about. What it's sort of like when you have a press conference, you have to think, what do I want the headline of this press conference to be, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. What do I want to come out of this confab with Musk? What do I want to arm supporters with so that they run out and amplify the things that I said here and sustain the things that I said here? Anyway.
Well, there's a montage of like the headlines: rambling Trump-Musk interview marred by tech issues. That goes on. After 40-minute delay, Elon Musk and Donald Trump hold marathon bull session on X. The media is doing their job of slamming the entire process with what happened, but they would do that anyway.
Yeah, of course. It doesn't matter what.
Familiar falsehoods, blah, blah, blah.
Chris on 65, I-65.
Yeah, I echo your comments about being frustrated with the way the guy talks, but I think it was such a huge accomplishment to go from a guy that was banned from Twitter to go back on it, to echo your comments again about maybe what Trump or Musk did trumps everything. I agree. The fact that they were able to get this talk in through a DDoS attack or whatever it was called, and it was a huge accomplishment. And the other thing it did was they didn't say anything crazy. There wasn't anything like the EU was complaining about this as a threat to speech in the world, and the world's going to fall apart. So I just think this first talk that they had was an amazing accomplishment.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Chris. Yeah, I'm like I said, it was a good idea. I'm glad he did it. Glad it went off better than the DeSantis candidacy announcement. But I'm just saying,
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, wah, wah. That was like an omen of things to come.
Speaking of the EU, since Chris brought it up, it is worth noting, and on the positive side of the ledger for Elon Musk, this letter from this head of the EU's internal market, this frog named Thierry Breton, he wrote a letter to Musk dated August 12th. I'm writing to you in the context of recent events in the UK and in relation to the planned broadcast of your Platform X of a live conversation between a U.S. presidential candidate and yourself, which will also be accessible to users in the EU. I am compelled to remind you of the due diligence obligations set out in the Digital Services Act, and blah, blah, blah. But listen to this paragraph. Digital Services Act, your responsibilities. This is the setup. This notably means ensuring, on the one hand, that freedom of expression and of information, including media freedom and pluralism, are effectively protected, and on the other hand, that all proportionate and effective mitigation measures are put in place regarding the amplification of harmful content in connection with relevant events. Again, ripped from the pages of an Orwell novel.
Where are we living?
This is important against the backdrop of recent examples of public unrest brought about by the amplification of content that promotes hatred, disorder, incitement to violence, or certain instances of disinformation. So this is a warning from the Field Marshal Breton of the EU in advance of the conversation last night between Musk and Trump. And, the whole, of course, you want to protect freedom of expression and the flow of information, except and unless there is an expression that we don't agree with, there is information we don't want disseminated.
The party of tolerance. Yes.
It's really, really authoritarian at minimum. Musk's response, well, first he tweeted a meme of Tom Cruise from Tropic Thunder saying, F my face. Then he elevated his response a little bit, and he quotes JFK, actually. In 1946, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution reading in part, freedom of information is a fundamental human right and the touchstone of all the freedoms to which the United Nations is consecrated. Yeah, if only that were true. Then Musk's commentary, this is our touchstone at X as well. This is the code of the Voice of America. We welcome the views of others. We seek a free flow of information across national boundaries and oceans, across iron curtains and stone walls. We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. JFK's comments about the natural right of freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and freedom of expression. But the key, a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. Well, right. The savior democracy crowd, they're afraid of the American people. And they're also, they also find the American people generally distasteful. You know, you're sort of a nuisance to these central planners. Don't forget it. Elon Musk certainly hasn't.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Our elite media outlets have gone all in on protecting the Democratic Party, meaning they have become partisan mouthpieces, not protectors of democracy. And at the very moment it completed its surrender, they've started warning against those not in power, namely Donald Trump and his candidacy, as being a supposed threat to democracy. Memory hold is the ongoing cover-up of Joe Biden's health, perhaps the biggest lie we've lived through in our political lifetimes. And we saw it again with Robert Costa's CBS interview with Joe Biden, where, maybe for the 20th time, Joe Biden recited his reason for running in 2020 being based on Donald Trump's praising neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. As they delight in recounting Trump's exaggerations, why have zero reporters, including Costa himself, not said what they know to be true? For example, excuse me, Mr. President, you do know Donald Trump actually criticized those white supremacists in that press conference you keep referring to, right? To the media, any lie from the left will fly, because to the media, the job is not reporting, it's to maintain the power of the left. I'm Seth Leibson.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-568-2790. 800-568-2790. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-568-2790 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Catherine Herridge reports, thanks to some DHS whistleblowers, on how the Department of Homeland Security is not following the law with respect to illegal immigrants in a very specific way. That's 6:06.
Clouds and sunshine, a high of 84 at 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Back on the social media platform that banned him after January 6th. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump interviewed by Elon Musk, who bought Twitter, changed it to X, and welcomed him back.
You think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
About 20 million listeners tuned into the interview, according to an automatic counter on X, and that is despite a more than 40-minute delay due to what Elon Musk is calling a massive cyber attack.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. Once they got going, it lasted about 2 hours. The former president called Vice President Harris radical left, blaming his Democratic rival for record illegal immigration.
You have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years.
And the former president says people are angry with
what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation.
The Biden administration says they've made progress and the rate of inflation's come way down. The former president also talked about last month's assassination attempt in Pennsylvania.
We're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October.
Now, Elon Musk says he would also talk to Vice President Harris, but the Harris campaign, in calling the Trump interview unhinged, also called Elon Musk and the former president self-obsessed rich guys. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is vowing to appeal a ruling not allowing him on New York's ballot.
New York Justice Christina Reba, in her ruling, said Kennedy Jr. falsely declared a state residence on petitions needed for his nomination.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. In Colorado, a former election clerk has been found guilty on charges related to a 2020 security breach. Tina Peters was accused of using someone else's credentials to get access to Mesa County's election system and give it to a Trump supporter who had been claiming the election may have been rigged. America's listening to Fox News.
It is 64 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Big day, back to school day for many high school districts in Illinois and Northwest Indiana today, for dozens of others this week. Man was critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood this morning. Around 2:30 a.m., a 46-year-old man was wounded. An investigation is underway after armed robbers targeted a jewelry store on Chicago's southwest side. 5 suspects armed with guns entered the business last night in the 5200 block of South Pulaski, smashing display cases and stealing items inside. A woman was also robbed before leaving. No arrests have been made. The Dalton Deputy Police Chief facing federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Louis Lacey was indicted by a federal grand jury over allegations of engaging in a scheme to conceal assets and income from creditors in order to prevent payment of a lawsuit settlement.
He has been serving the community. He has been a police officer for many years. He has been an outstanding citizen of the city of Dalton, or the village of Dalton.
Lacey's attorney believes the indictment is political retaliation. Street closures continue ahead of the DNC next week in Chicago. Rolling closures include Washington between Damon and Wood, and Walcott between Washington and Warren. Chicago's police superintendent warning those planning to protest during next week's DNC not to riot.
We're not going to allow you to riot. Protesting and rioting are two different things. The moment that starts, we're going to intervene. I am not going to wait until it gets out of control and then try to bring it back in.
Speaking during a City Club luncheon yesterday, the superintendent said demonstrators do have the right to protest, but rioting will not be tolerated. Cubs lost to Cleveland 9-8. They trailed 8-3 in the 7th inning before bringing 4 runs across, but fell short, while the White Sox unloaded on the Yankees yesterday with a 12-2 win. The news service of Blue Stars Security. Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you and your business. Visit online at bluestarsecurityllc.com. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher lays out Kamala's record.
They want you to forget that she was in the job in the first place because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't want you to remember that, just like they don't want you to remember that she was the border czar. They're memory holing us. They want to change who she is. And they cannot escape the fact that she got the job because of DEI.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. Kennedy inbound. Austin to Lawrence, you're jammed up 30 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson in 31 from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Slow traffic on the northbound tri-state. 294 jamming up between the Reagan and the Ike merge, especially on the ramp to the outbound I. Traffic, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more. Check if you qualify. almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and sun, a shower in the area this afternoon, high today 84. Clear to partly cloudy tonight, low 66. Sun and clouds tomorrow, the high 86. For Thursday, clouds and humid, shower and a heavy thunderstorm, the high 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
65 at O'Hare, 58 in Morris, 68 Lakefront. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Remember that gang of Biden buddies, new neighbors that came to New York from Venezuela and attacked a bunch of NYPD officers in Times Square?
I do remember that very well. What happened to them?
Well, one of them was arrested late last week, Tuesday, for a pair of thefts at 2 Manhattan Sephora locations, one in July and one in August. He was previously arrested and released over at least 3 other thefts. That was both before and after the beatdown of the cops in Times Square. So he's out and about doing what he do.
He's enjoying life in America.
Yeah.
Freedom of movement, freedom to steal, because we're not teaching him a lesson, so he keeps doing it.
In Coney Island, 2 illegal immigrants arrested for a knife-point rape, including one who was released from jail less than 2 months ago after sexual assaulting a different woman in a city-owned, city-funded shelter. One is Nicaraguan, grabbed a 46-year-old woman, threw her to the ground before raping her while holding a knife to her throat. His accomplice, Mexican, accused of striking the woman's 34-year-old boyfriend with a pipe when he tried to stop the rape of his girlfriend. It wasn't the first time for the Nicaraguan who crossed the border illegally in Texas in December of 22. 4 months later, he was arrested for raping a woman at a La Quinta hotel on 3rd Avenue in New York. He spent about a year behind bars before taking a plea deal that put him back on the streets in June, according to corrections officials and Brooklyn prosecutors. So it just keeps happening.
I'd say just deport them, but that's never going to happen. But we can't even keep them in jail for the crimes that they're committing.
Well, part of this is what DHS isn't doing. And this is a new aspect for me, thanks to the good investigative journalism of Catherine Herridge. She's like Cheryl Atkinson now. She's doing her own thing because, the D.C. press corps can't have people like Catherine Herridge or Cheryl Atkinson on the payroll because they're actual investigative journalists.
Yeah, and when they fired her, they confiscated all of her work.
Well, of course they did, because she's a loose cannon. She's a live wire. She's has a mind of her own. She's not there to necessarily do anybody's political bidding, and so, again, you got to go. These are propaganda shops. These are outposts for the Dem politicians of the day. So Catherine Herridge wasn't welcome, but she's still doing investigative journalism, as I said, and she sat down with 3 DHS whistleblowers. Their names are Michael Taylor, Fred Wynn, Mark Jones. They collectively have 70 years of experience at Customs and Border Protection. And thinking about just those 2 stories, and of course there are innumerable others. The woman who was raped at knife point, her boyfriend beaten, the habitual criminal who was part of beating up cops and just continues to steal with impunity in New York. There's a DNA collection law that is on the books. Didn't know this. I also didn't know that DHS wasn't adhering to it. I'm sure most of you didn't either. But it turns out to be sort of important when it comes to protecting Americans from violent criminals in this country illegally. And here's the setup to what we know thanks to these whistleblowers and Catherine Herridge's reporting.
This law is on the books.
Yes.
Is Homeland Security enforcing the DNA collection law?
Not fully.
As a result, are Americans less safe?
Yes.
No question in your mind.
Not at all. None.
Customs and Border Protection is in violation of the federal law, and it's done knowingly.
Yes.
This internal Homeland Security directive, marked law enforcement sensitive, lays out the law. The border agency is required to collect DNA samples from non-United States persons in detention for immigration violations. Known as the DNA Fingerprint Act, It passed in 2005 with bipartisan support.
So there's no ambiguity. The language is clear.
It lays it out as a roadmap.
Have you ever seen a directive like this be ignored?
Never. No.
Okay, a lot of people are going to be confused. Homeland Security's job is to uphold the law and to keep Americans safe. But what you're alleging is that Homeland Security is not complying with the law.
That's correct.
Since 2021, under the Biden-Harris administration, Homeland Security's own data reports more than 10 million border encounters.
The internal mood is it's a dumpster fire.
We've noticed one of the whistleblowers walked Harridge through the kits that the FBI provides to CBP for the DNA collection and the impact of the law when it's followed.
So, Catherine, this is the kit that's provided by the FBI to the Customs and Border Protection officers and agents. Place it inside your cheek, rub inside your cheek three times.
3 times, yeah.
You're collecting saliva and skin cells or epithelial cells.
Okay.
I would then take it back from you, close it, place it inside the white envelope, which then gets sent to the FBI laboratory for processing.
So 30 seconds to collect, about $4 a pack.
Correct.
How long to process by the FBI?
Approximately 72 hours.
So it helps you identify suspects.
Absolutely. It gives an investigative lead to a law enforcement agency.
Has the system solved cold cases?
Yes, it's presumptively solved over 1,000 cases just from DNA collection.
Not only does it cut down on crime, it also cuts down on the time that it takes law enforcement to find this individual.
Seems like a sensible tool in the toolbox, as the politicians like to say. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So how lax is the DHS in enforcing this law? Wait till you hear these numbers.
Recent data released by Republican Senator Chuck Grassley suggests nearly 70% of border encounters did not include DNA collection as required by law, and as many as 950,000 violent criminals were unidentified.
950,000 violent criminals went unidentified. That's nearly 1 million people.
That estimate was from 2010 through 2019. That was 5 million illegal entries at the time.
What you're saying to me is that 950,000 violent criminals is an old number. It's on the low end.
Yes, ma'am.
The continued prolonged willful failure to comply with the DNA Fingerprint Act has resulted in the harm that Americans are dead, and these deaths were preventable.
Preventable deaths, like we discuss all the time, both with respect to indigenous violent criminals as well as those that we have imported into this country, we being the Biden administration and all these sanctuary city politicians. They also went through in some detail the Rachel Morin case, the woman that was murdered down in, was it Georgia?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, Rachel Morin was a mother of 5 who was murdered while jogging.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I can't remember the state that took place in. But regardless, they went through that in some detail. And, it was the opinion of these former, I guess, I don't know, their status is in limbo. But anyway, these DHS whistleblowers, Customs and Border Protection, that had the DNA fingerprint, the DNA collection law been abided, it's likely that law enforcement could have gotten to this guy who had repeated, if you remember, repeated interactions with law enforcement and prevented that murder from happening. Just to put, a real story to it, in addition to what you heard from the agent about this DNA collection law being the proximate reason that some 1,000 cases, including cold cases, were solved. Of course, I mean, we don't know this. We don't know DNA evidence helps law enforcement solve crimes. Of course it does. But for some reason, DHS is not enforcing it. And nobody at Customs and Border Protection is disciplined for the fact that the estimate is 70% of those who should be subject to the DNA collection law are not having their DNA collected. No discipline except for a few examples.
Ultimately, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security is responsible. We know that he's been notified of the noncompliance. They've done so with impunity.
Has anyone at Homeland Security been disciplined?
Not that we're aware of. No.
Demoted?
No, and to the contrary, promoted.
Promoted? Anyone fired for failing to comply with the DNA law?
No.
No.
The only ones disciplined are sitting right here.
Right. The whistleblowers have been disciplined for being the nails that stick up. I'm glad to hear that DHS, CBP has the same accountability culture that we've borne witness to at FBI, Secret Service.
I mean, DHS, don't forget, they handed nearly 500,000 unaccompanied children over to HHS. So I don't trust this organization, and now I just have a pit in my stomach for those kids.
They lost 85,000 kids.
I know. And you don't think that they're in the hands of sex traffickers?
Has anybody found them? I know.
Anybody even looking for them?
I knew.
Are we trying to get the hostages back too in Hamas?
I knew Ali Mayorkas said he was working on that.
Yeah.
Has anybody got a report back from him yet? We whistle him before another congressional committee so he can tell us that how proud he is of his employees and how diligent everybody works, and he will not have his agency or these brave men and women denigrated in any way. Of course, we're not denigrating them. We're denigrating the culture. We're denigrating him. We're denigrating the lack of accountability. We're denigrating the performance. We're denigrating the guiding philosophy of the administration and its instrumentalities, these agencies and these secretaries. But that's what he'll do, and then he'll say, "Yeah, let me get back to you on that. I'll have to confer with staff," and then, that'll run out the clock for this administration.
Yeah, but because of his carelessness and lack of interest in the subject, I mean, Rachel Morin, she was a mother of 5. She's from Maryland. She was out
Maryland, yeah,
Maryland, and I mean, those kids, they don't have their mom. He doesn't care.
Joe in Arlington Heights. Oh, we lost Joe in Arlington Heights. Okay. George in Naperville. This better be, if it's going to be a one-line aphorism, it better be good. George.
Yes, Stan, in the land of opportunity, they don't want to infringe on a migrant's right for his criminal activity.
Thanks for the call, George. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Oh, I was going to say that Mayorkas should be impeached. Oh, wait, he was.
Yeah,
but
right.
The Senate just took a pass on it. So
950,000 violent criminals that should have had their DNA collected under federal law, bipartisan passage 20 years ago. This, sounds like a debate topic to me. Sounds like a campaign ad for Trump to me. You got to put a face on it, like Rachel Morin or Laken Riley or someone like, unfortunately, one of these people people have been killed, preventable deaths.
Yes,
that phrase too, that phrase that the whistleblower used, preventable deaths. This needs to be impressed upon people because, it's the old. Frankly, it's the old Stalinist line, and since we're talking about the new Bolsheviks, it's appropriate. One death is a tragedy, a million's a statistic. That's how it's received. I think people are inured to it when you just talk about, 5 million migrants, 10 million illegal immigrants. What does it mean? Oh, violent criminals. How dare you call all
That's
illegal...
racist of you, Dad.
Yeah, illegal immigrants violent criminals. I'm not. I'm talking about the actual violent criminals. I'm talking... when I said violent criminals, people here illegally who commit violent crimes. But it doesn't matter. This has to be pushed. There has to be some personification to the failing of this administration. Bringing these whistleblowers forward is a real service that Catherine Herridge did.
And
needs to be built upon.
X. Oh, sorry for interrupting, but thank goodness that X provided her to do her investigative work. Got a text message, Dan and Amy, perhaps having Catherine Herridge at your Freedom Summit.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Good morning. When they were speaking, the three border agents, they referenced 950,000, but they also referenced the pool of encounters during a period of time, and they said 5 million. So what I heard is roughly 1 million out of 5 million are criminals. We've imported over 10 million during this present regime. Does that mean that we have 1/5, 2 million criminals that have been let in? That's what I heard in the statistics he just stated.
Well, right. I mean, I don't know if you can extrapolate so neatly. Thanks for the call, Joe. But the point is, and this one of the agents made it. CBP guys, whistleblowers made it. So whatever. Obviously, not everybody who comes here, other than coming here illegally, is a violent criminal. Yeah, we all recognize that. That's not a controversy. But it's a very simple point that a small percentage of a big number is a big problem. Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 5%? Well, 5% of 10 million is 500,000. 500,000 violent criminals, and then we're not enforcing the law with respect to DNA collection so that we can prevent and or solve. I mean, just in addition to obviously the predicate issue, which is border security, period. So none of them are ever entered. But at some point, you have to deal with the reality on the ground. This is the reality on the ground that's being exacerbated purposely by DHS in violation of federal law. Rule of law, we hear from Mamala on the stump, right? And we stand the rule of law. Right. Dan and Lyle. Hey, Dan. Dan and Lyle.
Dan, you're on.
In your car.
Oh. We lost Dan.
Mike in Littleton, Colorado.
Hey, good morning, and thank you. Just a couple of notes. Hey, nobody's getting prosecuted. Hey, these three whistleblowers saw a crime, no interest. So that's the problem why we don't vote. But more importantly, if just on the outside playing numbers, if 1% of the population in a whole is criminal or has that bent, we're importing an army, or we're allowing an army of 10,000 criminals per million to enter this country. And I think that's maybe the goal. So, again, until Mayorkas and all of these corrupt politicians find their asses a place in a jail cell, it's not going to change.
Thanks for the call, Mike.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With over 3 decades of serving up streetwise insight and local perspective on Page 2, the voice of John Kass has a home at johnkassnews.com.
I'm John Kass, and for too long, so-called progressives have been ruining our world. They've been stepping on us. They've twisted everything from the schools to the media in the hopes of crushing our liberty. Traditional media, mainstream media, like the paper, and anything else you see on TV, well, they're in on it. And that's why you need to join me at johnkassnews.com for your daily cup of Midwestern common sense. Don't be a chump alone. Join me on the new frontier of independent journalism at johnkassnews.com, where freedom and liberty still mean something. They mean everything.
Go to johnkassnews.com to subscribe for daily access to podcasts and columns from John Kass and others. That's johnkassnews.com. Click on subscribe.
Attention, anyone with high blood pressure.
If you want to seriously control your blood pressure and not be a walking time bomb,
Order 120 Life today.
120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure. It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
With ingredients that have shown to naturally help control blood pressure, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life.
Try it for yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack.
Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A pea-hat wearing father shares the heartbreaking story of the rift between him and his son over Trump. 6:36.
Now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:31. Sunrise in Chicago. And despite a few technical issues last night, Elon Musk's conversation with former President Donald Trump on X went on for over 2 hours last night.
They want the American dream back, more important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked.
Trump also said he would be returning to the city of his assassination attempt in October.
We're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area.
The two also discussed things like the attempted assassination in Pennsylvania, immigration, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Voters heading to the polls in several states. In Minnesota, progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar will defend her seat against former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels. The contest comes after two other members of the so-called Progressive Squad lost their Democrat primaries this cycle. However, AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups have not been actively involved in the Omar race. New research is suggesting this morning that Mars could have enough water underneath its surface to form a global ocean. Fox's Gary Baumgarten has more on the new research.
The theory is a result of seismic measurements captured from Mars' InSight rover, which detected more than 1,300 Mars quakes before shutting down 2 years ago. The water is believed to be undetected, the scientists say, because it could be as much as 12 miles underground, giving rise to the belief that the red planet had rivers, lakes, and possibly oceans billions of years ago. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
The FDA ordering recalls of powdered baby formula sold at CVS pharmacies and H-E-B grocery stores in 12 states. The recall over the powder containing too much vitamin D. It's a big day back to school for many high school districts in Illinois and Northwest Indiana today, for dozens of others a little later this week. Man critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder this morning. Chicago police say the shooting took place around 2:30 in the 5200 block of West Fullerton. A 46-year-old man was wounded. An investigation is underway after armed robbers targeted a jewelry store on Chicago's South Side last night in the 5200 block of South Pulaski. No arrests have been made. Chicago's police superintendent warning those planning to protest during next week's Democrat National Convention not to riot.
We're not going to allow you to riot. Protesting and rioting are two different things. The moment that starts, we're going to intervene. I am not going to wait until it gets out of control and then try to bring it back in.
The DNC runs August 19th through the 22nd. And Illinois is finally designating the official mushroom of the state. The governor signing a bill designating Calvatia gigantea commonly known as the giant puffball, as the state's official mushroom. The measure began as an initiative led by elementary school students from the Prairie School of DuPage in Wheaton. By the way, they can grow to the size of a basketball in the fall and are edible, I'm told. Cubs fall to Cleveland 9-8, while the White Sox unleashed on the Yankees with a 12-2 win. The news a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. PapaNicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees another overreach from Biden.
A federal appeals court just blocked President Biden's latest plan to transfer outstanding student loan debt to American taxpayers. These people, the way they lie and distort, the courts say he doesn't have the authority to end student debt.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
As everyone can tell, we're living in turbulent times. During times of uncertainty like World War II and 9/11, people have often turned to God. In times like these, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, Illinois reminds all Americans of the ancient promise found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. This is not a political statement. It's a call to all God-fearing Americans to do as God's word instructs. America needs healing now. Whether you're for the guy on the left or the right or neither, everyone needs to heed the word of God as 2 Chronicles instructs us. May God bless all our leaders and God bless the USA. This message is brought to you by Fox Valley Coins on Route 59, Naperville, Illinois.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Eden's inbound right now, 23 Lake Cook Road to the junction. Ike in 51 already. From 390 to the old post office, you're jammed up Manheim to Oak Park Avenue. Dan Ryan Express lanes slowing up 47th into the Chinatown feeder. Tri-State jamming up northbound between Roosevelt and the Ike merge. Traffic, a service of Staples stores. With Staples Hot Deals, you'll find super low prices on hundreds of items for back to school right now. 24-pack Crayola crayons and comp books are 50 cents each at Staples. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program. Save big on back to school at Staples. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Clouds and sunshine. Chance of an afternoon shower, high 84. Clearing to partly cloudy overnight, lows 66. Currently 64. Your next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just one postscript on our discussion of that Catherine Herridge report on the failure of DHS, the purposeful failure of DHS not to enforce federal law when it comes to DNA collection of people in this country illegally. Hundreds of thousands of violent criminals, basically, DHS is providing pathways to America for. I mean, honestly, that story, I was thinking about it. Jeff Fort and Larry Hoover have nothing on this administration. I mean, they might as well be gang kingpins. I'm talking about Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas, because they're in service to them. KJP was asked.
Oh, no. When is she going to go away?
KJP was asked by Phil Wegman from RealClearPolitics.com. Karine Jean-Pierre, White House spokeswoman, greatest accomplishment for Reparation H?
What does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, and he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one. And you've seen them do that together on day one of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term, and will continue to.
Got it. They've done it together. Whatever has occurred, they've done it to us together. Perfect. Thank you. It's a wonderful admission. That's something else that should wind up in an ad. All right.
Oh, well, speaking of ads, I mean, did you see her new ad? Or do you not even? I mean, she's tough on the border now, Dan. Do you know that? That she's doing something. She's making things happen.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
And Democrats are buying this. Oh.
I didn't get a call from my son on Father's Day this year, says Sam DeLon, now of California, formerly of Houston. Our political disagreements have made things hard.
Don't have to tell me, sister.
For those male impersonators out there, you're going to want to get a box of Kleenex in your vagina hat. I'm a 59-year-old progressive and special education teacher, and I'm voting for Kamala Harris in November. Nick, pseudonym for his son, to protect him. He's 21 years old, but whatever. Nick is 21. He would say that he holds traditional conservative values, but he's conflating those values with radical MAGA ideas, which correlate the right with patriotism, manhood, intelligence, independence, and honesty. Yeah, that's right. That's about it. I understand where my son's vulnerabilities came from and why this right-wing posturing was able to seep into him. I understand it, but I still regret it, writes Dad. Nick's mom and I wanted to teach our son that democracy is an active sport. You don't just sit back and watch. Activists. We lived in Houston in the belly of the petrochemical beast. Well, why did you choose to live in Houston then if you don't want to be around the oil and gas industry. But
Probably works for the oil and gas industry.
no, he's a special ed teacher.
Oh, that's right.
I still remember going to a demonstration against Halliburton, the Iraq War, and Dick Cheney's role in the company. We were, Nick was along with us in a stroller at the time.
Did he say he wants freedom?
He did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought so. Those were his first words, right?
That was the community. We were plugged into the community of artists, musicians, teachers, and writers. You know, idiots.
Stop it.
That's how Nick came up.
Oh. Well, we're glad he had matured.
He's on the upper end of the autism spectrum, so he can have difficulty interpreting social cues. So can Dad, apparently. All he wanted to do was follow whatever the big kids were doing. Yeah, that's really unique. These statements. Nick never found a person that he could really link or vibe with. He loves animals, though. We let him get a dog when he was young, and that allowed him to be more than a follower. I've seen Nick's heart melt. He can't tolerate cruelty to animals or people who are vulnerable, which feels ironic given his politics now. Right. Because if you're a Trump voter, you are happy to bear witness or participate in cruelty to animals and vulnerable people. Right. Of course. This is the cartoonish caricature. By the way, the whole thing misses a massive point. Sam, Dad, misses a massive point. All this conservative values versus MAGA. You know, people who say that, oh, you know, traditional conservative and MAGA, but not that right-wing extremist. Tell me what you think traditional conservative values are. Compare and contrast traditional conservative values to what you accept as, well, that I don't agree with it, but I accept it. That's rational. That's, you know, within the parameters of reason. Okay, so what's the difference between how you define those and how you define quote-unquote MAGA extremism? Compare and contrast. Define both terms for me so we know what we're talking about. Can anybody do that?
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us your answer on our text line.
Because the thing that these dingbats, these sentimental barbarians like Dad, Sam, don't understand, that for most of us, Trump supporters, he is a vessel, not a savior. He is the means to a long overdue reckoning to reestablish the balance of power between the citizen and the state. Are you listening? He is a vessel. He is not going to be here forever. This is the blunt instrument we have that gives us the best chance to deliver that long overdue reckoning. Is that too complicated a concept? We moved to the Bay Area in 2017 after Trump won the election.
Oh boy, was it a safe space?
We're leaving Houston. We're going to San Francisco. We'll show you. Okay, keep going.
I know somebody who moved out of Atlanta because of the politics and is back in Chicago. Wow, you showed them.
Between the politics and what are the politics in Atlanta? They're the same as Chicago.
The suburban Atlanta. Two Republicans.
Yeah.
They had to flee.
Great. You know,
Okay.
You wallow in your misery together. You want to, I mean, again,
this is working?
For whatever. It's like, fine. If somebody moves back from the suburbs of Atlanta to Chicago, you basically just say, look, this is a person who wants to run screaming off a cliff, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing.
That's why I have no friends.
No, it's not why you have no friends. It's because for some reason you immerse yourself in these milieus of mindlessness. Go find reasonable people. They exist in Chicago.
I think I'm going to go Sunday to the Trump rally in Henry County.
There you go.
Maybe I'll get Sean's autograph.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good get.
I'll get a T-shirt so he can sign it.
Moved to the Bay Area in 2017 after Trump won. Nick was 15 or 16 when he said that he liked Trump. I can understand how Trump appealed to a childish sensibility. He's a clownish figure, does whatever he wants. Dad writes, I've never been a macho kind of man. No kidding.
This just in.
But here it comes. Here comes the sophistry
right.
and the sentimentality. This is a statement. It doesn't sound like it, but this is a statement of barbarism. This is a statement of feeling your way through life, not thinking your way. To me, our biggest responsibility as humans is to look after each other. Men have been given places of privilege in society, so when people talk about being a man, to me, that means, what do you use your privilege for? Yeah, of course, everybody who has any sort of faith tradition knows the idea of being your brother's keeper. I love the sort of these at best, cafeteria Christians or people of a certain spirituality, which you hear all the time on the left, these sentimentals. I love all that this high-mindedness. They're the ones practicing the corporal and works of mercy. They're the ones that are looking after what a bunch of nonsense. Bunch of nonsense. And it should be addressed straight away. So sick of listening to this preening bull jive about what they don't do while criticizing what people who actually believe in free markets and are really committed to their faith do. Again, it's sort of this is projection onto you what I am, just a different version of it. It's sort of a passive-aggressive version. I'm not really doing these things, but I support when we import, 10 million people and we distribute them into metropolitan areas and everybody has to pay for their education and health care and so on and so forth. That's me, being a part of the vanguard for the vulnerable. Bull jive. You're a monster is what you are. You're platforming criminals and you're pushing dependency. You're actually taking your philosophy is to take agency away from people. And you call yourself a good person? But Sam says Trump appeals to that perceived loss of masculine power. Fast forward to the rest of Sam's life to bring him just to president. My wife and I divorced in 2020. Shocking. And Nick lived with me for 6 months in California after that, but later he went back to live with her in Houston. Also shocking. So I heard from him less and less so. I no longer have the same influence over him. I can't be there to talk to him about the human cost of Trump's policies. He also worries that some of his friends in Houston introduced him to guns and took him to a shooting range. The horrors of it all.
Oh, no. I always say no.
One of his right-wing friends is really wealthy. It's nice to have a friend who takes you out to dinner, but it also means Nick hears all this stuff about how people who aren't rich are basically parasites.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's just nonsense. Just absolute nonsense. Fictions that they repeat to themselves. Nick has a girlfriend now. He's doing better than Dad, who he met online. My ex says she's a perfectly lovely girl, just a country Catholic kid. She's also Latina, so his feelings on immigration have softened after he spent time with her family. We barely speak anymore. I hope that I'll reach an economic status where I can fly to Texas more often. This guy's pathetic. But Dad, the progressive do-gooder, is divorced and alone, living in San Francisco because his presidential candidate didn't win in 2016. Meanwhile, Nick seems to be thriving with friends and a girlfriend, enjoying life in Houston. Oh my! I mean, this
great contrast there.
But I mean, seriously, these stories are ubiquitous. The Sam story, I mean. Philip in Concordia, Missouri.
Good morning, Dan. I'd like to express to you that the people in my circle of friends, and we're all libertarian in a sense. We know that the Constitution is being eroded each year, but we don't want to waste our vote, voting libertarian. So we do go along with Republican, but when Trump came along, we're not really voting Republican. So, hey, have a good day. I love your show.
Thanks. Well, no, he means it's a sort of your voting. I mean, he's sort of a wrecking ball, right, to both parties.
Okay.
I think that's what Philip means, and that's you feel like you're voting. Yeah, I mean, you're voting for what it is, which is a populist revolt. That's what it is. You're voting for a reckoning. And maybe Trump will deliver more of a reckoning the second go-around than he did the first. One hopes so. We don't know. But it's the only shot we got right now, in addition to making sure you have conservative reform leadership in the House and the Senate. Steve in Downers Grove.
Oh, Dan, very quickly, 2 comments. Just left the house this morning in Downers. Saw my first Trump Vance yard sign. Proudly displayed. If you might be able to let us know where we can pick some of those up, around town, I'd like a Trump Vance sign for my own yard, but I don't know where to get them.
Yeah,
so that'd be number one. Good morning.
Okay.
And I'm an active Christian and attended church in Elmhurst. We have a men's Bible study every Thursday. And we are studying the book of Acts right now, especially the life of Paul. And we were reminded that Paul was protected in the Bible, New Testament, by an army of 270 Roman soldiers after the Sadducees, about 40 of them plotted to kill him and murder him and cut his head off. And we then talked very quickly about should a Christian in combat shoot first or second? And we unanimously decided that a Christian in combat should shoot first. You don't want to shoot second in combat. So there are some good Christians out here. Study Francis Schaeffer, Presbyterian minister in the 60s and 70s.
All right, thanks, Steve. Steve, we
strongly advocated. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Steve.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel. Home to the biggest shows on TV, like Dennis Prager, weekdays at noon Eastern, followed by Jay and Jordan Sekulow at 2. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Xumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Xumo.
AM 560. The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world. It's just the history we don't know, and Frank does. Take it away, Frank.
Good morning. In 1588, the Spanish Armada attempted to invade England, and Thomas Hobbes was born. This was a harrowing time for his family, and it affected his upbringing. Later, he also lived through the turbulent English Civil War between the Cavaliers and the Roundheads, afterwards writing his masterpiece Leviathan in 1651. In it, Hobbes argued that individuals had to give up their complete freedom in a social contract with a strong central government in order to avoid the brutish state of nature. As such, Hobbes viewed absolute monarchy as the best form of government. John Locke, born in 1632, came of age during the Restoration period when King Charles II reestablished his dynasty's preeminence, trampling on individual rights in the process. So, in 1683, in his second treatise, Locke argued that individuals possess the natural rights of life, liberty, and property, and amending Hobbes' social contract so that they had the right to change their government, even by revolution if necessary, if that government was not protecting those rights. England then showed King James II in the 1688 Glorious Revolution that he no longer had the consent of the governed and established parliamentary supremacy over William and Mary. Through many prime ministers all the way through the Cold War, England lived up to this Lockean tradition, but how perfidious Albion has now become. Its government, under both the Tories and Labour, has blatantly failed to protect the rights of its own citizens, and since Brexit, it now seems to actively work against them. It's clear that the majority in England wants an end to mass immigration, but their Orwellian thought crime laws are now being used to target dissent. So much for the English Bill of Rights.
Interesting. Roundheads was the name of my high school tribute band to Men Without Hats.
That was you?
Yeah, we used to kill with safety dance. Thanks for that. Nasty, brutish, and short. That's what life is, according to Thomas Hobbes, right, Frank?
That's right. Yeah. So we need a strong central government. I think two-tier Keir Starmer in England really likes that.
Apparently he does. Frank, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Coming up, 7:07, former Wisconsin governor, now head of Young America's Foundation, Scott Walker, talks POTUS politics.
It's now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
X marked the spot. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For former President Trump, back on the social media platform that had banned him as Twitter, Elon Musk rebranded it X and interviewed him after a 40-minute delay that Musk blamed on a cyber attack.
There's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
And he said this about his Democratic rival.
She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Former President Trump also accused Vice President Harris of flip-flopping on policy positions to look more moderate, claiming she's copying him.
Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible.
He also tied her to economic troubles.
The inflation. It doesn't matter what you make. The inflation has eaten you alive.
Though the rate of inflation has been coming down, and we'll get an update on July's wholesale prices later this hour. The Harris campaign called the Trump interview unhinged.
Musk invited Harris to speak with him on X2, something she's unlikely to do, given her criticism of Trump and Musk as, quote, self-obsessed rich guys who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024, unquote.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. 12 weeks before Election Day, it's primary day in Connecticut and Vermont, and the polls also just opening in Wisconsin and Minnesota, where Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is the latest progressive squad member facing a challenge from Democrat Don Samuels, who tells Fox
she takes contrarian actions. She divides our community.
Two other progressive House Democrats have lost primaries, Cori Bush in Missouri and Jamal Bowman in New York. Arizona is the latest state to put abortion on the ballot. Voters will decide in November whether to put abortion rights into the state constitution. Arizona currently bans the procedure after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The proposed change would expand that to 24 weeks. America's listening to Fox News. 64 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A man critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood this morning. It happened around 2:30 a.m. A 46-year-old man was wounded. An investigation continues after armed robbers targeted a jewelry store on Chicago's southwest side. 5 suspects with guns forced their way into the jewelry store in the 5200 block of South Pulaski, robbing a woman before they left. No arrests have been made. The Dalton deputy police chief facing federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Louis Lacey was indicted by a federal grand jury over allegations of engaging in a scheme to conceal assets and income from creditors in order to prevent payment of a lawsuit settlement.
He has been serving the community. He has been a police officer for many years. He has been an outstanding citizen of the city of Dalton, or the village of Dalton.
Lacey's attorney believes the indictment is political retaliation because he is an ally of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the target of a federal investigation. Street closures continue ahead of the Democrat National Convention next week. Here in Chicago, rolling closures start on Washington Boulevard between Damon and Wood, along with Walcott between Washington and Warren. Chicago's top cop warning those planning to protest next week at the DNC not to riot.
We're not going to allow you to riot. Protesting and rioting are two different things. The moment that starts, we're going to intervene. I am not going to wait until it gets out of control and then try to bring it back in.
We also understand this morning that a federal court has ruled in favor of the city of Chicago against Palestinian protesters who wanted an alternative route to protest on during the DNC. We will provide full and more details on this with Dan and Amy throughout the morning. Voters heading to the polls across Wisconsin today. And a suspect wanted in a Freeport murder is in custody. Christopher Calvin was arrested Saturday by Chicago police on an outstanding warrant for first-degree murder. Calvin will now be extradited as soon as today back to Stevenson County. Cubs lost to Cleveland 9-8. White Sox unload on the Yankees 12-2. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka isn't sure we've solved the problem.
Guess who really runs things for operations at the Secret Service?
Ooh, Deputy Director?
Bingo. So the Deputy Director was really responsible for Butler, and now he's the Director. Just because he's next in line doesn't mean you've solved anything.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Jerry Paget II enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Illinois and Wisconsin patriots, come out to the greatest Trump rally of 2024. Support President Trump and help save the American dream. Join thousands of great Americans as we rally for Trump on Sunday, August 18th, the day before the Democratic Convention, from noon to 6 at the McHenry County Fairgrounds. It's an afternoon of music, fun, and messages from many of President Trump's most trusted advisors and closest friends, including Charlie Kirk, General Flynn, Steve Moore, and Kimberly Fletcher of Moms for America. Your MCs for the event will be me, Gary Rabine, and Sean Thompson. There will be many surprises, more all-star speakers, and well-known music groups to come. Join us as we rally for President Trump at the McHenry County Fairgrounds on Sunday, August 18th from noon to 6. Get your tickets now at paradingfortrump.com. That's paradingfortrump.com. Profits go to efforts to elect Trump as our 47th president. Paid for by the American Dream PAC. Thank you to our sponsors, Rabine America and Peerless Fence.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Inbound Edens 21 Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy with a stop-and-go traffic problem. Edens Junction to Diversey, and you've got an accident on the left-hand shoulder inbound. At Addison, inbound Ike jams up Manheim to Costner, 50 minutes from Manheim into the old post office. Accident reported on the outbound Stevenson between Pulaski and Central. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Periods of clouds and sun, shower for the afternoon. The high today at 84. Tonight clear to partly cloudy, low 66. Sun and clouds for tomorrow, the high 86. Clouds and humid, shower and a heavy thunderstorm on Thursday, the high 80. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
64 at O'Hare, 65 at Midway. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the censorious left is in full froth now with less than 90 days to go until Election Day. The Amazon Post is demanding to know, we want to know, White House spokeswoman KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, what are you going to do to stop information from getting to people that we don't want to get to people?
What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that or stopping the spread of that or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews, and that's something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking.
No,
it
I'm
either.
sure he is too. I'm sure
busy tracking.
We don't need. We've outsourced that to the likes of our deep state friends at NewsGuard and other places. They'll be working with the social media companies to throttle information that we don't want disseminated about Kamala Harris, about Donald Trump, about any particular issue. So I have nothing to read out because I can't disclose that. Just know that it's taken care of. It was very Thierry Breton, the internal markets boss over at the EU, in his letter to Elon Musk. The responsibility you have under the Digital Services Act, Mr. Musk. This, again, in advance of last night's confab with Trump. This notably means ensuring, on one hand, freedom of expression and information, including media freedom and pluralism, are protected. Yet, on the other hand, that all proportionate and effective mitigation measures are put in place regarding the amplification of harmful content in connection with relevant events, including live streaming, which, if unaddressed, might increase the risk profile of X and generate detrimental effects on civic discourse and public security.
Whoa.
Thierry Breton, much like some of those Brits, they're really interested in seeing if they can put Musk in thought prison in some gulag in Frogland or the UK. Well, I mean, again, here we have a vice presidential candidate who believes this about free speech.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. If Tim Walz, like Thierry Breton, like that Amazon Post reporter, if they feel like some information is out there that may pose a threat to our democracy, well, then First Amendment rights be damned. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by former Wisconsin governor, now president and CEO of Young America's Foundation. He is Scott Walker. Scott, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Good to be with you. Yeah, Tim Walz seems to be quite at home in places like the Soviet Union in years past, or communist China now, or many of the Middle East oppressive regimes where the government says it's misinformation and they censor it, you're done. That's not America. Certainly not the America I know.
Well, if it doesn't work out for Kamala and Tim, then maybe get a job with Thierry Breton at the EU. No, but I mean, this is really, they're really ratcheting it up, and it's most notably directed at Musk because he most notably has one of the platforms where people can actually engage in the free exchange of thoughts and ideas.
Well, it'd be interesting to know if that means misinformation applies to whether or not if you say or allow others to say and don't correct them that you were deployed as part of a military operation, is that misinformation? Because it seems to me that that's not what they would contend. Certainly, Tim Walz appreciated his service, but there's a lot of questions about whether or not he corrected people when they pointed out that he really wasn't an Afghanistan veteran. Again, that's a whole nother debate and discussion. But again, one person's misinformation is somebody else's story, and certainly I don't want to live in a society where the government of all things, but even that, for that matter, anybody else. We're in a republic. People forget it's not just a democracy; it's a republic, meaning our rights, whether you're in the majority or not, are protected, and free speech is paramount to that.
Indeed. We had this story come out over the weekend. This ironically X post that the Pennsylvania state election authorities published. That
that's right.
We can't guarantee that Pennsylvanians will know the winner of the election at the presidential level, or I assume other offices as well, on election night. As you're looking around, you're seeing like Secretary of State LaRose in Ohio cleaning the voter rolls, removing 160,000 some odd names that should be removed, based on the standards that have been set forth of active voter files, people who've moved, people who've deceased, things we don't do in places like Cook County. But they're doing in Ohio. You've seen some progress in some places. You've seen some regress in others, like Arizona, with the court decision that allows for people to register to vote even if they're here illegally. And then this Pennsylvania, particularly this Pennsylvania news about not being able to guarantee that you'll know the results on election night. It's first of all, tell us about Wisconsin, what your handle is on that, because that's another swing state, and then also what your sort of larger opinion is about how the administration of the election is trending with those important swing states.
Yeah, two things. One, just on the administration of it, it certainly concerns me. I saw the same thing in Pennsylvania. We're talking about before they're even going to the polls. They're already setting the stage for this. Back 4 years ago, obviously, there were a number of concerns, many of which were legitimate, despite what some in the corporate media said. And part of that is whether it's Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, places like that are battleground states, you want more transparency, not less. You want more action to be taken now in advance of the elections to make sure that they can get the results, that people know exactly what's going to happen. If you're going to have legitimacy, no matter who wins, you got to have transparency. You got to know what's not going on, not just some statement out there, well, maybe we won't know. So that's a part of it. But it also means strategically, not just for campaigns, for state parties, for the RNC and others, they've got to continue to press in court to make sure, unlike what happened in 2020, that all of these states, every state in America, all 50, but particularly these battleground states, follow the actual election law. In Wisconsin, as an example, there were a number of instances that have yet to be, that I've been pointed to, that have yet to, anyone has been able to correct me on this, but where state statutes weren't followed when it came to absentee ballots. We got to make sure the law is followed. We have a photo ID requirement in the state. We've got other requirements. Those should be followed. So that's one part. Secondly, though, regardless of that, it's a tough battle right now. There's no doubt about it. I was on a panel last night with the Republican Governors Association, and people were asking about Wisconsin and the battleground states, and I said, there's no doubt about it. I think there was a sense maybe of not maybe, for sure, of overconfidence after that debate between former President Trump and President Biden, that somehow it was in the bag. And once they switched things out, even though it's the same, arguably the same or worse, with Biden Harris has gotten his high prices, it's got his border security problems, it's got his public safety problems. It gets worse when you put Tim Walz on the ticket, and yet there's a whole group of voters in Wisconsin and elsewhere that suddenly have now said, oh, the problems were just because Joe Biden was old and confused, and now he's gone. And you see that in the numbers. Trump was up by a couple points right after the debate, I should say, and now he's down in most polls in Wisconsin by a couple points. He can still win, but he's got to get focused back on those 3 points: high prices, border security, public safety. Pound those over and over again and remind people it only gets worse with a Harris-Walz ticket.
Well, what do you make of Kamala's transformation to the Republican Party? I mean, now she doesn't want taxes on tips after accepting fracking and no mandatory gun buyback programs.
Well, it's amazing. It just shows you in the end they will do absolutely anything. It's all about power. It's not about policy. It's not about principle. It's ultimately about power. And she'll flip-flop and then get in office and do all sorts of other wild and crazy things. I mean, the most egregious to me is not even just that, but when she goes around and says, on day one, I'm going to lower prices. You're in office.
Do it now.
Does nobody get that she's in office with the president? If there was something they could do to lower prices, it's this gaslighting. She cast the deciding vote on the infamously called Inflation Reduction Act that actually led to higher inflation, higher prices. So this idea, but the media, most media outlets, most of the corporate media just gives her a pass, doesn't call her on this, hasn't even demanded an interview, has no level of scrutiny. But we should expect that. As conservatives, we face the M&Ms. Money and media are clearly at her side. We've got to make sure we get the truth out, and it means everyone, myself included, who support the president and the former president himself, have to get out and stay focused and disciplined on these issues. I don't care whether she's black or white. I don't care if she's black or Indian. I don't care whether she's got a cackle. I don't care about many of these other things people talk about. In the end, the reason why she's dangerous is because prices will continue to go up. It's because the border security will get even more out of control, and it's because public safety in our largest cities in Chicago and Milwaukee and elsewhere will get even worse if we've got liberals in charge like her, and we need to pound that over and over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, about the media. I mean, the caterwauling from conservatives about the media, like this is something new. This is standard operating procedure. So understand it's built into the price and focus on what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about what they're doing because they're doing what they always do. But also, too, think about this, a little bit more deeply rather than just reacting to the obvious propagandizing that's done by the D.C. press corps. I mean, you can certainly point it out, but don't obsess about it. The James Taranto principle, which is that the uncritical coverage often is a disservice to the intended beneficiary. For example, Joe Biden in the Democrat Party. The uncritical coverage of what his real condition and mental capacity was put them in a trick bag that they clearly did not want to be in. Now, they may be able to get out of it. That remains to be seen. But that uncritical coverage was not to their benefit. They didn't want to be in the position they were in. And so the same uncritical coverage of Kamala may leave her particularly unprepared for, say, a debate stage.
Well, it's exactly why if I was in charge of the President Trump's campaign right now, I'd offer a debate every week from the DNC to November 5th, because I saw it when I helped prepare for the vice presidential debate 4 years ago, that if you press her on it, it's the reason why she's got a 92% turnover in her office. And I believe that's people not because they disagree with her on substance or on policy. It's because that's a sign of someone who disregards the information and research prepared by their staff. So you push on these issues, and we've seen it in interviews. I mean, heck, she thought she was going on with Lester Holton just for, walk in the park, and he pressed her on why she hadn't been to the border, even though she was the point person on that issue. There's a lot of things out there that I think could be revealed in a series of debates, and I hope that they'll have them. more than just personality, though. I hope that they'll have them so that President Trump can push back and say, you can say whatever you want, but here's what you and Joe Biden have done. If anybody wants to have a good indicator of what will happen with her and Tim Walz, what happened over the last 3.5 years and how bad it's been, and that's got to be pressed over and over again. Forget about all these other things. Stop talking about anything else that takes energy and oxygen away from those issues. And that obviously starts with President Trump, but with all of us. And there's a real opportunity. At Young America's Foundation, the polling we did before the debate showed even with college students, number one issue, almost 2-to-1, is the economy. So keep pounding away at that issue and border security and public safety. Keep pounding away at those, and we can win not just at the top, but up and down.
Speaking of Young America's Foundation and the situation in higher education, the purge continues. I know this has sort of fallen below the fold amid other issues and sort of unprecedented developments in the presidential race, but we've got another casualty. Mark Skuzin, who's at Chapman University, writes about an econ professor at Occidental College, Obama's alma mater, Jack Kemp's too. Anyway, he taught a popular intro to economics class. He's Austrian from the Austrian school, von Mises, Hayek. And one student said that he kept saying poor people were lazy. He said, I never said that. He was talking about Thomas Sowell's reviews of the welfare state and so on and so forth. Anyway, he got axed by Occidental College, and as Skuzin writes, it's a shame that Occidental College seems not to be living up to its promise to uphold political diversity, but it's unsurprising, and it continues. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity, since you're close to this now, where this stands, so people don't lose focus of the few professors that do provide political and intellectual diversity on campus who are still in the crosshairs when it comes to the censorious left.
Yeah, as bad as it is for our students who feel intimidated and feel like they're alone, it's even worse for anyone, not just a conservative, but anyone who's trying to be objective about just presenting the facts, whether it's about the economy, social welfare, things of anywhere in that regard. The most endangered species on a college or university campus is a conservative professor, and this is just another example of that. And all it takes is just to be slightly offended. We were helping students bring in you have to bring in speakers, and at one school in Florida, they actually said, well, if you can bring this person, but if one person is offended and lets us know about it, we're going to stop the entire lecture. And what? This is the heckler's veto. So I said to this chapter leader, we got to go back and play by their rules. Go between now and the time your speaker comes, go to every lecture, and which are obviously 99.9% liberal, and be offended. Raise your hand and be offended and demand they stop the lecture at that point, because those are the rules they've set now. Well, obviously those are absurd rules, but call them on it. Make them do something about that. And this is the same thing. They talk about academic freedom. Well, that's a load of crap. Academic freedom is just an excuse to allow, Marxist sympathizers to spew all this hate for America to our college students. But the minute somebody else offers a contrarian point of view, they're like, "Oh, we got to stop this. Someone's offended by this." No, that's not the way it works. Academic freedom should be across the board. You want diversity? I'm happy with diversity. I don't think you do it at the expense of merit, but I'm happy with diversity. But diversity should include diversity of thought, and it's guaranteed free speech in the Constitution. It should be revered on our campuses. Yet these days, that's where it's most under assault.
Scott Walker is the president and CEO of Young America's Foundation, of course, former successful governor of Wisconsin and presidential candidate. Scott, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's It's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
All right, let me ask you, are aches and pains robbing you of the life you used to live? Are you sitting on the couch more, not out enjoying the summer while it lasts because of pain from arthritis or possibly from an injury? Well, guess what? There's an effective way to deal with this pain, and we're not talking about drugs or surgery. There's exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. Whether if you have arthritis or an injury, you need to contact QC Kinetics before you go under the knife. They have multiple locations in the Chicago area. They are open on Saturdays, and they have new locations in Gurnee and Crystal Lake. Here's what you do. Call this number for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the entire process. They'll be able to explain it far better than I can, and they're ready to take your call. It's 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
You hear more and more about identity theft in the news every day. That's because so much of your personal info is out of your control, like your insurance provider that has your Social Security number and your favorite retailer that has your payment details. If they get breached, your information's vulnerable. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code PLAY at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they want you to think that unlimited data is fantastic. Well, the fact is, it's not. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you need. For just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Save money, same service with Pure Talk.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Speaking of higher education, what's going on in Western Illinois? Is it going to continue to go on at Western Illinois? Maybe the better question. We'll start there. Talk a little K through 12 education and, of course, DNC with Ted Dabrowski, 737.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy and Dan at 732. A ship in the Red Sea has been targeted in a third attack from suspected Houthi rebels in their campaign of assaults. The attack comes as the Yemeni rebels' main sponsor, Iran, weighs a possible retaliation against Israel. The pilot of that plane that crashed down in Brazil last week has been buried in Sao Paulo, becoming the first person laid to rest among 62 victims. Despite some technical issues, Elon Musk's conversation with former President Donald Trump on X went on for over 2 hours on Monday.
Like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. You know, she's not a smart person, by the way.
Following the hiccup, the two discussed things like the attempted assassination of Trump in Pennsylvania, immigration, and Vladimir Putin. Several states holding primaries. Mark Mayfield has more.
Voters will go to the polls Tuesday in Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. In Minnesota, Progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar will defend her seat against former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels. The contest comes after 2 other members of the so-called Progressive Squad, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, lost their Democratic primaries this cycle. In Wisconsin, Republicans will choose a candidate to run against Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, who is running for a 3rd Senate term. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Residents felt the earthquake. It shook up Southern California Monday afternoon.
It was really quick, and it felt like something fell. It didn't feel like the earth was shaking. It was more like a wham bam.
The 4.4 magnitude quake was centered on South Pasadena. A man critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood this morning around 2:30 a.m. An investigation is underway after armed robbers targeted a jewelry store on Chicago's southwest side. It happened last night. They also robbed a woman before leaving. No arrests have been made. Chicago's police superintendent warning those planning to protest during next week's DNC not to riot. Superintendent Larry Snelling says demonstrators have the right to protest, but rioting will not be permitted. And federal prosecutors now want more prison time for former Chicago Alderman Ricardo Munoz after he was accused of drunk driving in May while on supervised release. The charges stem from an arrest in Berwyn on May 23rd. Prosecutors this week will request Munoz's supervised release be revoked and he be sentenced to an additional 3 to 9 months in prison. Cubs couldn't turn a 5-run comeback into a win, eventually falling 9-8 to Cleveland last night, while the White Sox unload on the Yankees with a 12-2 win. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save on an average 90% for dental implants and get 100% of that smile back? With Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, it's possible. Check out if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explores the VP choice.
Now, on paper, you'd think that a Midwestern governor like Tim Walz, he's like a folksy Midwesterner. Served as a member of Congress, governor of Minnesota. He's the safe pick. He's the safe pick if you want to now be described as the most liberal ticket in American history. It's effectively like choosing Bernie Sanders, and that is not an exaggeration.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. There are a lot of reasons to reject the Harris-Walz combo at the ballot box this November. But the two stories that came out this week involving their persecution of ordinary citizens are likely the greatest reasons of all that they must be stopped. If these two come to power, there is no telling who they will go after to protect themselves or their friends, or what they will do to advance their progressive agenda. First up, the Tim Walz snitch line. Caroline Blog reported that at the beginning of the COVID epidemic, Walz issued an executive order that prohibited any resident of Minnesota from leaving his or her house except as permitted by him. He then set up a snitch line so that people could phone in and rat out their neighbors if they violated his stay-at-home order. Unbelievably, Walz had the audacity to make minding your own damn business one of his themes at his kickoff event. The second story comes from Kamala Harris's time as California Attorney General. This week, new footage shot by David Daleiden in 2015 at the National Abortion Federation's commercial trade show was released, which showed Planned Parenthood staff discussing the process of harvesting aborted baby parts. In the video, Planned Parenthood's doctor discusses complying with a patient's gruesome request to get footprints of the baby being aborted. Her nurse cheered over their success. The video was only recently released because while AG, Kamala Harris used a court injunction to block the release of the video. She also raided Daleiden's home to confiscate other damning video, and court documents say she did so at the behest of a campaign donor. The Harris-Walz duo and those that back them have shown their fascist colors. No American should trust them with public office. Good people must stop them. I'm Jeannie Ives. To learn more, listen to my radio show from 7 to 9 p.m. on Sunday and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
7:38. Let's get a quick update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Hot air roasted locally and then cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Great coffees are family tradition at papanicholas.com. Inbound Kennedy, 1 hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident left shoulder inbound at Montrose. On the Ike, 55 minutes. 390 into the old post office. You're jammed on the Stevenson brake lights Harlem to Kedzie. Dan Ryan coming in 25 minutes into the Circle. You're jammed up in the locals Garfield to the Chinatown feeder. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. We'll have clouds and sunshine with a shower in the area, possible for the afternoon, high 84, then clearing out in a low of 66 overnight. Mostly sunny and 65. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So we brought you Stacey Davis Gates, CTU boss. We brought you her appearance on WVON recently, in which she addressed the seeming poor academic achievement of CPS students, with less than 1 in 3 that can read at grade level, less than 1 in 5 that can do math at grade level. We talked about it a bit yesterday, but since Ted Dabrowski over at WirePoints has done so much work on K through 12 education over so many years, figured give him a chance to weigh in. To reset, this is her explanation for the poor test scores, the the NAEP test scores. Just leave it at that.
When people talk about achievement as a classroom teacher, I know that it is not linear. And the way in which, we think about learning and think about achievement is really and truly based on testing, which at best is junk science rooted in white supremacy. Now, if you have another hour, I can get into why standardized tests are born out of the eugenics movement. And the eugenics movement has always sought to see Black people as inferior to those that are non-Black. So when people talk to me about testing alone, I have to trouble the waters and challenge that, because you can't test Black children with an instrument that was born to prove their inferiority. It just can't do that.
And we have extended an invite, we said we would, to Stacey Davis Gates to give her that hour to make that case with the detail that she requires.
Oh, I mean,
that would be great.
It would be wonderful if she could come on and explain herself, but I doubt it. But
yeah, I don't.
A girl
can
dream, right, Dan?
I don't hold out too much hope either. Anyway, Ted Dabrowski is the president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org. He joins us for our standard Tuesday confab. It's not as good as Musk and Trump, but we try. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
So, you don't have an hour, but I will give you a chance to react to what Stacey Davis Gates said about testing. You can't measure Black students by these tests rooted in white supremacy.
Yeah, it's the most. I guess you can always say it's the most racist comments coming from her. For me, the more she opens her mouth, the better, and the more she could keep trying to describe what her view of the world is. the better, because she and the union have done so much damage, and of course the damage is done way before in core and that group of let's call it, we have to call them just radical leaders. It's been horrible at CPS and CPU, but they've taken it to a new extreme, and they've gotten so, I guess it goes so radical and militant that it's going to be hard to take the power back from them. But we can't have these kind of people running the place, and what she's doing is she's perpetuating these reading levels, and these kids can't read, and it's a national crisis, but I think it's extreme here. I hope she keeps opening her mouth until people figure out just how bad she is for the future of black children, brown children, and any kids that are at CPS, frankly.
It's really interesting to talk about K through 12 education here as compared to Texas, where Governor Abbott went to the mat on expanding school choice, and he had to challenge, and he did successfully, several Republican legislators who were in the pockets of the teachers' unions down there. And now we find that almost a supermajority in some demographics, supermajority of Texans support school choice. 55% of Democrats do. The support for scholarships relatively comparable between men and women, 67 and 62%, white, Latino, black, 63, 64, 70, respectively. Urban, 67, suburban, 64, rural, 63. In some, the support for school choice in Texas is now broad and deep, such that to be opposed to school choice puts you in political danger, not to be opposed to the teachers' unions. Well, there are a lot of black families in Texas. There are a lot of Latino families in Texas. So why can't we make the same case here? It would seem. I don't know.
Look, first of all, there's so much traction between the unions and the bureaucrats and CPS and the lawmakers. We're up against a huge thing. And what we haven't figured out, and I'll tell you this, I've gone around the state a lot, as you know, traveling and talking to parents and all that. And most parents don't know what a voucher is. They don't know what an education savings account is. Now, if you tell them what one is, they want it. And that's why they do so well in those surveys, because the surveys explain, would you like for your kid to have a choice to go somewhere else? And the parents say, hell yeah. But most of them don't even know that there is such a thing, because we don't have such a thing in Illinois. So I think, and this is one of my biggest, let's call it, things that I want to go after, is we need to make it toxic for lawmakers to oppose school choice. And that's what guys like Abbott are doing in Texas, and
right.
And what happened with the governor in Iowa. They've made it toxic for them to oppose it. But in Illinois, we're so passive. Our side, if you want to call it our side, those who want literacy, haven't gotten together, made a campaign strong. And it's a campaign that overwhelms the political establishment, that overwhelms the educational establishment with just how bad things are, so that it becomes toxic for a lawmaker to support the current system, and makes it toxic for them to oppose school choice. We're so far away from that right now, Dan. But I do believe, with how things are, that we can do that. It just means coming together and figuring out how to create those campaigns.
All right, so in a few days, the DNC is going to be here. I was just at O'Hare and saw they dolled up the place and everything's getting ready. Do you believe Superintendent Snelling when he says that if there is some civil unrest, we're going to engage and make arrests?
Well, it's funny. I believe him. I don't know if I believe Johnson, and who's in control. And it's always a big question of who's in control around here. But I get this feeling that Snelling would like to take action. It's a gut feel. I don't have enough data behind that. But I do believe that. But Johnson will be very cautious. Pritzker will probably be cautious at first, and only if it gets ugly will they act. So I'm worried. I'm cautiously optimistic that nothing's going to happen, but at the same time, I'm a realist to know that the guys that are in charge here in Illinois can easily make a big mess of this.
And by the way, speaking of Illinois, you've got this billboard campaign. I saw around town. Illinois Democrats balance the budget. Illinois Democrats record job growth. these billboards to welcome the new Bolsheviks from around the country to, you lie to me, I lie to you, and we're all around the chestnut tree. The sort of recasting or continued casting, I guess, of Illinois as this bustling center of economic vibrancy.
Yeah, we're doing so well. They're going to do that, and they have to do that because the reality is quite the opposite. So they can't let that sink in, and they're going to. I saw one of the signs that said record job growth. I mean, there's nothing that could be further from the truth in that billboard. I didn't see the others, and so along those same lines of what you were talking about earlier with on the show. They've got to keep the misinformation going, and that's just the way it is. What's amazing is, and you kind of come back to your point that you made about James Toronto, uncritical coverage. What we really need is critical coverage of Chicago. Most murders in the country for 13 years in a row. You've got some of the highest black unemployment, all that stuff. The critical uncoverage of that is detrimental to the actual victims, whether they're crime victims or black victims, or economic victims. We're missing it all out, and we're going to see one of the biggest shows and one of the biggest lies ever done in the country, and it's going to be right here because of the DNC in Chicago.
The higher education here, Western Illinois is hemorrhaging, and some of the other so-called directional schools, too, may be in not quite as dire straits, but also trending in the wrong direction in terms of enrollment and thus viability. Western Illinois is laying off staff, is facing a significant budget deficit with respect to its capacity. I don't know if we can get Dan Webb and Frank Winters to come in and save their alma mater. What say you? What's going on in higher ed in Illinois?
Well, it's the reckoning we were supposed to have a long time ago, and I did quite a few deep dives with the team a few years ago. And Western Illinois got 12,000 students a decade ago. Now it's going to be fighting for half.
Oh my
so it's one of the biggest things has been the administrative bloat, and we track that. It's massive administrative bloat. We've talked about the pensions a lot at the higher ed. They're massive, and so you've got these costs. So what happens is costs go way up. And
but also too, that's the interesting dynamic is the drop in enrollment. So it's one thing to have the bloat. It's another thing for people who, just whatever source, wherever they were recruiting students from, probably a lot relatively locally in Western Illinois. It's all dried up. Could some of that have to do with the people aren't there anymore? The exodus.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it too. And, we wrote about that last week. That we're losing. People like to say, "Oh, we're losing the old people." No way. I mean, we are losing the old people. Right? It goes 65 and over. We're losing the wealthy people, but we're losing the young people as well, and we're losing every single demographic. So the point is that it gets really, really expensive in these schools, and we got way out of control for a few years. They're trying to rein it back in terms of cost of attending these universities. But when you combine that with the outmigration, and you combine that with the bloat and the pensions and the costs, it's a perfect storm. And here we go. And it's the same storm we're having, and maybe it's a little bit more, hyper at the universities, but it's the same storm we're having in Illinois, period.
Speaking of this grotesque comedy called Chicagoland in the state of Illinois. So Lori Lightfoot is a goo-goo municipal consultant now. She's poured over the books in Dalton, and she finds profligate spending going on.
No.
And then we get this story. The $1.16 billion deal that privatized Chicago's parking meters and whose private investors long ago recouped their investment and who Chicago long ago spent the $1.6 billion, even though it's a 75-year deal.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's going to get worse because of what Lori Lightfoot did. The city reclaimed some 4,000 parking spaces during the shutdown during COVID, and then returned a little bit more than half of those spaces to the parking meter consortium a couple of months later because the demand for parking stay at home. And now they're in litigation where the parking meter company says its losses from the seizure of parking meters were somewhere in the neighborhood of $320 million. The city's expert says it's $120 million. They're in arbitration, and they're fighting this out. So in addition to the fleecing that Chicago taxpayers took with the original deal, that's as under Daley, all the seeds that were now sown, and we're now reaping the poisonous crop. Lori Lightfoot made that deal at, according to the city's own estimates, $120 million worse. And she's the goo-goo that's telling Tiffany Henyard about profligate spending.
Yeah, well, she's the expert for that stuff. This is another of these. Well, it happens every couple of years, right? There's all these costs that just keep piling on, and this is the kind of mistake they've made, whether it's skyways or parking meters. It happens over and over. And what's interesting now about this one is that it's starting to pile on. We may be at $1 billion deficit again in Chicago after the COVID money is running out. Here comes the same old stuff again. It's back to reporting what we did 4 and 5 years ago. We're going to start doing it again. It's that you got the $1 billion deficits both at CPS and in the city of Chicago, 2 different $1 billion shortfalls. Let's see where it goes. But it's this kind of horrific management that comes to light. And here's Lightfoot again.
Yeah, right. I mean, if the people don't change, why should their representatives? Ted Dabrowski, President, WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you have jewelry with sentimental value that needs repairing? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I'm a customer of family-owned Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville because it's a place I trust. Their in-house master jeweler does impeccable work, and jewelry comes back repaired in perfect condition and looks the same as the day you bought it. That's a great feeling. Roland's also specializes in custom design. They'll work with you every step of the way to make your dream jewelry idea come to life. The Roland's family is expertly trained to give you outstanding customer service, earning 5-star Google ratings. Now that's impressive. Visit Roland's Jewelers' beautiful showroom in downtown Libertyville for all of your jewelry needs. Visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS Jewelers.com, or call or text them at 847-918-7300. 847-918-7300. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust.
Dan Proft here for Low T Center. If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is where I have gone the past several years. It's not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have more than a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for weekly visits. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
For anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-511-1551. 800-511-1551.
This is Seth Leibson for Townhall.com.
Our elite media outlets have gone all in on protecting the Democratic Party, meaning they have become partisan mouthpieces, not protectors of democracy. And at the very moment it completed its surrender, they've started warning against those not in power, namely Donald Trump and his candidacy, as being a supposed threat to democracy. Memory hold is the ongoing cover-up of Joe Biden's health, perhaps the biggest lie we've lived through in our political lifetimes. And we saw it again with Robert Costa's CBS interview with Joe Biden, where, maybe for the 20th time, Joe Biden recited his reason for running in 2020, being based on Donald Trump's praising neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. As they delight in recounting Trump's exaggerations, why have zero reporters, including Costa himself, not said what they know to be true? For example, excuse me, Mr. President, you do know Donald Trump actually criticized those white supremacists in that press conference you keep referring to, right? To the media, any lie from the left will fly, because to the media, the job is not reporting, it's to maintain the power of the left. I'm Seth Leibson.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
He was unhinged. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Vice President Harris's campaign says about former President Trump's interview on X with Elon Musk, calling his new rival who replaced President Biden a radical left lunatic.
Frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Saying Vice President Harris shares the blame for the effects of record illegal immigration.
You have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime.
The interview went on for 2 hours.
The Republican nominee also touched on some other policy ideas, such as closing the Department of Education and moving education policy back to the states. A spokesperson for the Harris campaign responding to the interview by saying, quote, Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class and who cannot run a live stream in the year 2024.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz referencing glitches at the start that delayed the Trump interview for about 40 minutes. Ex-owner Elon Musk blamed it on a cyber attack, saying there's opposition to even hearing what the former president has to say. Days after the Trump campaign was infiltrated,
the FBI tells Fox News it's investigating whether Iran hacked both major parties' presidential campaigns. Trump's team says private documents were stolen and sent to journalists. The Harris campaign says so far they are unaware of any successful security breaches. And then the Iranians up at the UN were asked about all of this, and they denied any involvement.
Fox's Mark Meredith at the White House. We just got an inflation update showing wholesale prices rose 0.1% last month from June, less than expected. And as for the annual rate of increase,
we came in at 2.2% year over year. Expectation was 2.3, and last month it was 2.6.
So Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni says an annual inflation rate decline like that could help the Federal Reserve decide to finally cut interest rates next month. We'll get July's consumer price report tomorrow. America's listening to Fox News.
64 degrees, sunshine at 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. It's a big day, back to school day for many high school districts and other districts in Illinois and Northwest Indiana today, and for dozens of others this week. Man was critically wounded after an altercation with a concealed carry license holder in the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood this morning. It happened around 2:30 in the 5200 block of West Fullerton. An investigation is underway after armed robbers targeted a jewelry store on Chicago's southwest side. It happened last night as 5 suspects burst into a store in the 5200 block of South Pulaski, robbing a woman before leaving. No arrests have been made. The Dalton deputy police chief is facing federal bankruptcy fraud charges. Louis Lacey, indicted by a federal grand jury over allegations of engaging in a scheme to conceal assets and income from creditors in order to prevent payment of a lawsuit settlement.
He has been serving the community. He has been a police officer for many years. He has been an outstanding citizen of the city of Dalton, or the village of Dalton.
Prosecutors say Lacey filed for bankruptcy in 2019 and 2020, which stopped enforcement of a settlement agreement reached way back in 2017. Cubs lost to Cleveland 9-8. White Sox unload on the Yankees 12-2. The news a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. Crosscom Public Adjusters, AM560.com. They've helped thousands. 8:03. Time for the AM560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Home Depot says higher interest rates hurt spending on home improvement in recent months, and it is lowering its forecast for the year. Its earnings topped expectations, but sales were softer than anticipated in recent months. Home Depot shares are losing ground. NVIDIA shares are gaining. The AI chip maker is getting a boost from Wall Street analysts who are predicting it will beat expectations in earnings later this month. More people around the world are buying electric cars. An industry report says global sales of fully electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles rose by 21% on an annual basis in July. The increase reflects China's strongest growth this year. In the U.S. and Canada, EV sales were up more than 7% in July. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka knows exactly how the VP choice went.
We know who the Kamala campaign had chosen. It was the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania. A video had been leaked congratulating him, but it was not enough. His groveling to the pro-jihadi wing of the Democrat Party availed him naught because the Jewish governor was thrown under the bus.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you back on the golf course. You must be feeling better, huh?
Yeah, I finally got my blood pressure under control without all the medication side effects.
Wow. New doctor?
No, a superfood juice, believe it or not.
A juice?
Yeah, it's called 120 Life. It's got ingredients like pomegranates, tart cherries, 6 natural ingredients that have shown to control blood pressure.
Huh.
Yeah, it tastes great and has worked wonders.
Awesome. Are you getting a golf cart?
Nope, I'm walking the course today.
Wow. You got any of that 120 Life on you?
Try 120 Life risk-free and get a 2-week trial pack. Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout to save 15% and get free shipping.
Support. How can we help?
Hey there, we have a huge problem. Our network crashed and our entire assembly line is down. We're losing thousands of dollars an hour. Can you help?
Please hold.
What are they saying?
They put me on hold.
We gotta get this line back running now.
IT support, who are you holding for, please?
Oh, hi. I need help. My network is down. I've been on hold for over...
Sorry, wrong call. Please hold again.
Sound familiar? Don't let a network problem cost your business thousands of dollars. Turnkey is the champion of small businesses. For the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with the most secure, up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting. All by world-class technicians who really care about helping people. Protect your small business today. Visit turnkey.pro today.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes, ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals, quickdelivery.com. Now, Lyle, an accident, Ogden and Bobian Boulevard. Wakanda, an accident, Route 59 and 12. Glendale Heights, an accident, North Avenue and Bloomingdale. Lombard clearing an accident, Route 53 in St. Charles. I-80 an accident, left center lane blocked. Car semi, eastbound I-80 between Hobart and the Des Plaines River Bridge. Southbound 53, an accident reported between the Jane Addams I-90 and Higgins. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Clouds and sunshine with a shower that may pop up this afternoon and a high of 84. Currently, mostly sunny and 65. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
From the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy in their chat on X yesterday. Tech mogul Elon Musk made this offer to one Donald Trump if he is to regain the White House again.
Well, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Wow.
More government. Another government agency.
Well, also, with all due respect, first of all, these blue ribbon commissions, we've been down that road myriad times. Secondly, Elon Musk, so would government money spent efficiently include green energy subsidies? Would it include the $40 billion that's being divvied up to support chip makers? Would it include subsidizing Chinese communist-backed EV battery concerns like Goshen? What would it include in terms of budgeting at and for NASA? I mean, is Elon Musk conflicted at all on any of this stuff since he is a recipient of so much government largesse? Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Sounds all well and good because we like Elon Musk because of what he's done for free speech on X, and he deserves a ton of credit for that. Absolutely. But, this other stuff is a little bit more complicated, it seems to me. What does it seem to John Tammany? Let's ask him. John Tammany is the editor of RealClearMarkets.com. He's also the author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Elon Musk, Donald Trump, I don't know, maybe some of his Silicon Valley friends, David Sachs and Peter Thiel and others get together and do a Reinventing Government Commission. What do you think?
As you alluded, we've been down this road before. Nothing ever changes. Government can't be a business. And it can't be a business because businesses start every day worrying that the next day could be their last. That's not the case with government. It's always got an incessant flow of dollars to it, so it can never reinvent itself. What causes reinvention is a desire to keep the money flowing in. You don't have to worry about that with government. And so it's a lot of talk. What neither side will ever come to the conclusion, and it's to my utmost frustration, is neither side understands we have a problem of too much government revenue. And until we address that problem, that in fact Americans are vastly overtaxed, the rich in particular will never solve the government waste problem.
Right. I mean, we have too much government throwing off. Well, I shouldn't say throwing off, extracting too much of other people's money to continue to expand government. I mean, that's what this.
Yep.
That's to the extent there's a quote unquote business, and they do put that in scare quotes. That's the business, is expansion.
Yeah, it exists to expand. Spare me that somehow one party's different from the other. They've all got their pet projects. No less than Ronald Reagan saw it when he was president. He was elected to shrink the size and scope of government, but what he found is that every program has a constituency, including a Republican constituent. And this is so when our side talks about deficits and all this, I think, gosh, you're missing the point. The problem is the too much revenue. We have debt because we have too much revenue, and we have too many programs because we have too much revenue. The money's going to be spent, so the goal has got to be to keep it from flowing there in the first place. But, supply side happy talkers tell us all the time about, well, if you cut this tax, you'll get more revenue, and that will bring down the debt. No, it won't. It will cause the debt because it will enable more borrowing. And you see it from both sides. The scolds on both sides say the same thing. Well, we've got to get more revenue in to fix this. No, the problem is too much revenue. But I found myself very alone on this, but I will continue to make that case.
Here's some revenue the government won't get, thanks to what is now a position of unanimity. Take a listen to KJP yesterday.
President of the United States, President Biden, would he sign that? That's something he's embraced before.
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Harris,
Harris
Trump
and Biden
supports
are
it.
together,
Then that triggered Harris to support it, and that triggered Biden to support it. So I think we've got it by acclamation now, John.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we discussed the last time on this, I get so mad when people do not tip in cash. I want to keep money from government every which way. I will go to ATM machines and pay the fee to make sure I have cash to tip in cash. I don't like to tip waiters and waitresses any way but that. But the notion that zeroing out that tax would somehow drive some economic boom or would have any kind of economic impact is laughable. Of course it would not. Because what drives economic growth is an investment. And the notion that suddenly zeroing out tax on servers is going to drive a surge of investment is just not serious. And it frustrates me again. We see it, the happy talkers on our side say, oh, no, it'll be great. It'll cause people to work more. Oh, please. And then, that Kamala is jumping on this. Where to begin?
Well, didn't the Biden administration hire more IRS agents to specifically focus on servers and people in the service industry?
I didn't realize that. I knew they hired more agents. I thought it was just to come after the rich, but that's a very interesting point.
Oh yeah, well, come after the rich, right? No one making less than $400,000. Well, unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, we know this is, all of the money from which you want to extract for agencies like the IRS is, in the middle quintiles. It's not the top 2% like they pretend they're only going after.
True, but let's be real. All the rich pay all the taxes, and I always find it odd when it's said, well, they're eventually going to come after the middle. If their intent were to come after the middle, there wouldn't be all this debt in the first place. No one lends to middle earners; they lend to super rich earners, and I find that hugely problematic in a government sense. I want the rich to make massive fortunes, and then when they're done with it, invest all that. The idea that government arrogates to itself such a big share is so anti-progress. It staggers the mind to think how much we haven't accomplished because we go after the rich so heavily. And so my big problem with the IRS agents going after the rich, they pay all your taxes in the first place.
Well, right. So with the top 1% pays about 40% of all taxes, income taxes. Right, top 10% pays about 75%. Those are two data points. I mean, I'm ballparking, but that's about right. Those are two data points that almost no one in America knows.
No, they don't know, and my frustration with it is that our side is situational about it. Let's be clear that the Biden forgiving those student loans is unconstitutional, it's immoral, it's wrong in so many ways. But isn't it funny how our side all of a sudden says, oh, yeah, the working man's going to pay for those student loans? Oh, please. No, it's the rich subsidizing the rich. It's not right. But let's be real. The money comes from one set of people. The top 400 taxpayers pay exponentially more than the bottom 70% of earners. The rich pay the taxes. Until we get real with that, all these other discussions seem kind of pointless to me.
You said something about investment. That's not what I understand in terms of driving economic growth. That's not what I understand. I understand that we are beset by recession fears right now because the government largesse is all the funny money is now drying up, and we're not getting the consumption levels we need. That's what I'm told.
Well, yeah, they always say that. Look, production is consumption. As long as that's the only path to consumption. Government handouts don't drive consumption; they just shift it. And so the idea that suddenly markets discovered on a Friday in, what was it, August, that Americans were consuming less is so ridiculous and such a misunderstanding of what drives consumption in the first place. It's just production. And the idea that governments could just put funny money into the economy and drive all sorts of demand, well, oh, that's interesting. Why doesn't Haiti do that? Why doesn't El Salvador do it? Why doesn't Zimbabwe do it? You can only get it one way. It's production.
What is, speaking of funny money, what is your, I think we've talked about this, but I can't remember exactly what your threat level assessment was of the prospect of the dollar not being the reserve currency. This is something that in recent years has been a real bugaboo for some on the right, and I wanted to get your take on whether that is something you feel is potentially imminent, and if it is that a grave concern for America?
I think it's just a load of nonsense. This is not me defending the oversight of the dollar. I think it could be much better. In my perfect world, Treasury would oversee a dollar that's defined in terms of something real, something like gold. But I don't get my way in all ways. Despite that, let's remember the fact that the dollar liquefies global exchange. If you go to North Korea and you want to buy things, you better have dollars. If you go to Venezuela, you better have dollars. Zimbabwe, you name the country, dollar is the currency of choice. So to pretend, as some do, that the dollar is about to be replaced is a presumption that suggests, yet again, that markets are incredibly stupid, that those who actually move around goods and services don't have a clue, and they're accepting a currency that's soon to disappear. Let's be real. The dollar is the world's currency until something replaces it, and we haven't seen that so far.
Great Dr. Phil impersonation, by the way. Right, first you got to get real.
Right,
very, very good.
Hey, I want to ask you real quickly about mortgage rates. 30-year fixed, do you see it going down anymore? I mean, we've seen some movement in the past month.
Of course, it's logically going to keep going down, I think, and the reason for that is that, let's never forget, housing's low risk. That's why banks are willing to touch housing, because they know that worst case they can recover a real asset that they can sell. And so it's only logical that the cost of mortgage will go down. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. My latest book makes a case against home ownership. To me, housing's consumption. It's not investment. But it's only natural that rates on mortgages will continue to go down to get back to where they were, because that's the safest way for banks to loan out the money entrusted to them.
For some people, that's their biggest investment. I mean, it depends on when you buy and where you live, really, don't you think?
What are you, Klaus Schwab now, John Tammany, at 15-minute cities, and we rent little tiny houses?
Yes.
And
I want
a van down by the river?
I want to see Wall Street far more involved in housing, but let's never forget, you show me a return on a house over any reasonable time frame, I'll show you a much bigger return in the stock market. And in that time, you could be renting while not focusing all your energy on a house you don't understand, that you're throwing incredibly dumb money at. When they come to me and say, oh, you need a new water heater, what am I supposed to say? I just say, oh, really? Okay. So I throw dumb money after dumb money at something I don't understand. So in a perfect world, people would recognize this, and I think the world economy would be much better if they did. Housing's vastly overrated.
John Tammany is the editor of RealClearMarkets.com. His book, The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a driver of a Ford Powerstroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford Powerstroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford Powerstroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Wow, she loves it. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I'm talking about a woman that I met at the pool. Arthritis robbed her of so much, but there's effective ways to deal with that pain without drugs or surgery. She went to QC Kinetics. They use cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizes your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain like my new friend I met at the pool, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Call them today for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process, tell you how it all works. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee, and Saturday appointments are available. 312-809-5955. Write it down, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
3 reasons I ditched my old school deodorant and made the switch to Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. First, Lumi is crazy effective. It controls odor in a new way and keeps me fresher longer. Second, it's a whole body deodorant that works on every nook and cranny. You know, the ones we all have, my pits and even feet. Use it anywhere. Third, Lumi was created by an OBGYN. I don't know about you, but knowing Lumi was formulated by an OBGYN who knows all about safety below the belt is super reassuring. Experience a new way to control odor longer that works everywhere. There's a special offer for listeners. Go to LumiDeodorant.com and use code SUPER and get 15% off your first purchase with code SUPER. Like the Lumi Starter Pack, Acidified Body Wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code SUPER for 15% off your first purchase. Love it or return it for free. That's LumeDeodorant.com, code SUPER to save 15% today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business, and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You hear more and more about identity theft in the news every day. That's because so much of your personal info is out of your control, like your insurance provider that has your social security number and your favorite retailer that has your payment details. If they get breached, your information's vulnerable. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code PLAY at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, just a quick update on where things are at. Don't confuse slowing the advance with reversing it. You know how the NHS, the Britain National Healthcare System, came out with that Kass review where they decided to stop doing mutilation of children and puberty blockers and that sort of thing. Oh, so it's important. Glad they did. But that's the same National Health Service is now telling radiologists to ask all men aged 12 to 55 if they're pregnant before performing x-rays.
Oh, come on.
Not kidding. This directive was issued after an incident where a transgender man, a woman, unknowingly underwent a CT scan while pregnant. So because a woman pretending to be a man underwent a CT scan while pregnant and was not that wasn't checked, now all men 12 to 55 will be asked if they're pregnant before getting x-rays.
I have one question for you. Dan, are you pregnant?
I'm not getting an x-ray, so I don't have to tell you. It's coming up at 8:38. That's where we're at. So slowing the advance in some places, but
you guys get to know, like when I'm 60, they always ask, "Are you pregnant?" Like, no, it would be a miracle. No, I'm not pregnant.
55-year-old man, are you pregnant? Okay. And by the way, if you don't think the AMA will adopt that standard here, then you haven't been paying attention to the AMA lately. John Lott joins us at 8:38 to talk about the data behind crime assessments, how they're covering up the spike in crime in places like Chicago. 8:38.
But straight into the newsroom we go now. Here's Mike Scott.
8:34. Despite some technical issues, Elon Musk's conversation with former President Donald Trump on X went on for over 2 hours on Monday.
They want the American dream back, more important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked.
Trump also said he will be returning to the city of his assassination attempt in October.
We're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area.
The two also discussed things like immigration and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Voters heading to the polls in several states. In Minnesota, progressive Congresswoman Ilhan Omar will defend her seat against former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels. The contest comes as progressives lost their Democrat primaries in this cycle to two other squad members fell because of AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups, but those groups have not been actively involved in the Omar race. Boston Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran is being suspended for 2 games by Major League Baseball after he allegedly said an anti-gay slur to a fan on Sunday. The Red Sox said they'll donate salary from Duran's suspension to different federations, bolstering gay parenting and other federations in Boston. Security and safety preparations ramping up ahead of the 2024 Democrat National Convention in Chicago, with officials planning a public safety update today. Public safety address will be the last one for the city ahead of the convention. Federal judge, meantime, will not force the city to alter the route for protesters near the DNC site at the United Center. The ruling means the city will keep its full plan in place. Full street closures are set to begin at 10 p.m. Friday at McCormick Place, 7 p.m. Saturday for the United Center. Cubs lost to Cleveland 9-8, while the White Sox unload on the Yankees 12-2. The news, a service of Kass Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Kass Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella-certified contractor. Visit valdecass.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher can't believe what he sees.
Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States.
Biden should go up on Mount Rushmore because he stepped down in utter disgrace as a failed, incompetent old man who let them pull the rug out from under him.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. and now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
After 30 years of doing knee and hip replacements, Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup thought there had to be a better way, and that led him to regenerative medicine.
I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it.
Now, after 20 years of successful orthobiologic treatments, lots of clinical data, research, and teaching, Dr. Scheinkup is National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
They've done an amazing job of becoming the most significant orthobiologic and regenerative medicine practice in the United States. QC is so far ahead of the game in its science, its protocols, its people, its facilities.
So if you have chronic pain from arthritis and you want to avoid drugs and surgery, call the experts in this revolutionary field, QC Kinetics.
To give patients real lasting relief from pain, that's what I live for. That's my mission.
Get your free consultation now. Call QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Summer is here, which is the ideal time to let the sunshine in and brighten up the house. Make those rooms that may appear small, dark, or dingy look better and bigger with larger windows or patio doors. Our highly skilled installers can enlarge openings if your space allows. For decades, Woodland has been transforming living spaces with Marvin windows, featuring styles ranging from modern to traditional. Marvin replacement windows and doors can also bring your backyard right into your living space. Ask us about connecting the inside to the outside. Since 1969, our professional services, along with the best products and installation, are why we are proud of our great online reviews. Need new windows now? Buy now, pay later with 0% financing for 18 months. Terms and conditions apply. Visit woodlandwindows.com and schedule an appointment today. That's woodlandwindows.com.
It's 8:40. Let's check the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update on travel times, a service of Dairy Queen. Kennedy inbound 60 right now. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. Stevenson solid. Harlem to Kedzie on the inbound side. Dan Ryan Express lanes, a solid block of taillights, 51st all the way up to the Stevenson Expressway. Tri-State due to an earlier accident. You're jammed up northbound between Archer and 47th. Slow on the Veterans, I-355 northbound right at Army Trail. And the Jane Addams is slowing up as you approach southbound Route 53. And there's an accident on southbound Route 53 with a right lane blocked at Higgins. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sunshine with a shower in spots this afternoon. High 84. Clear to partly cloudy and 66 overnight. Hey, DQ fans, the $7 bacon cheeseburger meal deal will leave you and your wallet full. Grab a bacon cheeseburger, fries, drink, a sundae for a whole lot of happy only at participating DQ locations. 70 degrees right now. Your next news update at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Mayor Peabody said that illegal immigration is not leading to an increase in crime. No less an authority than Peabody said that. And he also said that crime was up under Donald Trump and it's down under Biden. It's just one of those things you get to say. It's interesting that illegal immigration, this claim made by the open borders crowd, that illegal immigration is not leading to an increase in crime, in addition to the fact that people are here illegally.
Well, even Catherine Herridge's report, 950,000 violent criminals.
Well, this
We're not
is
given DNA tests.
This is why it's interesting to make that claim. So, this is Catherine Herridge's report we discussed earlier in the show. DHS, per 3 whistleblowers at CBP, not enforcing a 2005 federal law that requires DNA collection of people in this country illegally for the purposes of solving crimes, interacting and tracking down people who are in this country illegally, for that matter, and then committing other illegal acts. But anyway, this is the data that we had, and this is pre-COVID. Catherine Herridge discussing this with the whistleblowers.
Recent data released by Republican Senator Chuck Grassley suggests nearly 70% of border encounters did not include DNA collection as required by law, and as many as 950,000 violent criminals were unidentified.
950,000 violent criminals went unidentified. That's nearly 1 million people.
That estimate was from 2010 through 2019. That was 5 million illegal entries at the time.
What you're saying to me is that 950,000 violent criminals is an old number. It's on the low end.
Yes, ma'am.
The continued prolonged willful failure to comply with the DNA Fingerprint Act has resulted in the harm that Americans are dead, and these deaths were preventable.
Yeah, it seems even if you take this low number of 950,000, it seems like if you opened your door to 950,000 criminals, that would result in an increase in crime as compared to before you allowed 950,000 violent criminals into the country. Does that logically follow?
Well, I just feel like they're victimizing the victim again, saying, they would have been killed anyway if it wasn't by an illegal somebody here in the United States, basically is what they're implying when they say that, crime's not up. Crime, that doesn't matter if crime's up. That person that was here illegally killed an American citizen. And it didn't happen just once or twice. It's happened multiple times to innocent women who are either jogging, mostly jogging, or just sitting on a bench, and they decided to take advantage of them.
For more on this, please be joined by John Law, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, former senior advisor for research and stats at DOJ's Office of Legal Policy, and author of books including Gun Control Myths and More Guns, Less Crime. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's good to talk to you again. Thanks for having me on.
I don't think you need to be a particularly skilled logician to come to the conclusion that, for example, based on the data collection that Catherine Herridge reported from Chuck Grassley's office, that crime will increase if you increase the violent criminal population by 950,000. Isn't that just sort of obvious?
It's pretty straight logic. It's not just Pete Buttigieg who has made those comments. You have Tim Walz, the new VP running mate for Kamala Harris. You've had Biden make similar comments in the past. And the media just wants to go out there and claim that crime is going down. There are real problems with the numbers that they're pointing at. There are two sources of data that we have of crime. There's the FBI NIBRS data, which looks at number of crimes reported to police. And then you have what's kind of the gold standard for collecting the data, and that's the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization data. And, people don't seem to understand that you may not want to look at just reported crimes. You want to look at total crimes, both reported and unreported, and that's the measure from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. And prior to 2020, those two numbers moved up and down together generally. But since 2020, they've gone in opposite directions. I mean, you look at the numbers for 2022, the last year that the Bureau of Justice Statistics numbers are out for. And while the FBI showed a 2% drop in violent crime, the Bureau of Justice statistics showed a 42% increase in violent crime. And there are lots of reasons why those two numbers are out of kilter. One is, since 2021, a huge number of police departments have stopped reporting crime data to the FBI. You have over half of police departments are either not reporting any data or only partially reporting data. So we have less than half that are giving complete data to the FBI. But there's another major problem. That is, this is true across all cities, but if you take large cities like Chicago, over 1 million in population, in the 5 years before COVID, the arrest rate for violent crimes was 44%. It started plummeting in 2020. By 2022, only 20% of violent crimes that were reported resulted in arrest. And that's over a 50% drop in 3 years. We've never seen such low arrest rates, let alone such a large change ever in crime data from the FBI. And that's from the FBI showing the drop that's there.
Well, that would seem, again, employing a little bit of logic then. So more people are getting away with violent crime, so that's going to lead to an increase in violent crime committed by people that have a pretty good reason to believe they can get away with their violent tendencies.
Exactly. And to make it even worse, people have been discouraged from reporting crime. Well, one of the things that we know is that when people don't think the criminals are going to be caught and punished, people don't report crime as much as they would otherwise. And so the share of crime that's reported has fallen at the same time we've had this huge drop, massive drop in arrest rates. And so if you look at arrests as percentage of total violent crime, reported and unreported, only 8% of violent crime results in arrest, and only 1% of property crimes in those cities results in arrest. I mean, law enforcement's just collapsed. And as you correctly say, as law enforcement collapsed, is it surprising that you're going to have more crime that's going to be occurring?
Well, is that because we have a lack of officers? Because I don't know who would want to be a police officer in this day and age.
Right. I mean, Chicago obviously has fewer police, but you've also had a huge number of retirements. And you lose somebody with 15 years of experience, and you know, in the last year or so, they've gone and tried to hire more police. But, you know, somebody who's been on the job for 6 months or maybe a year just isn't as effective of a police officer as somebody who had been there for 15 years.
The DNC next week, we're hearing the usual tough talk that you hear from a police chief to try to send the signal that rioting and general lawlessness won't be tolerated. But, you know, being a criminologist, what do you anticipate knowing the landscape and knowing that those who have bad intentions know the landscape?
Well, I mean, if you read the news, one of the reasons why Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro from the governor from Pennsylvania and went with Tim Walz, who was much more left-wing and would please kind of the Palestinian-type protesters, was to help avoid some of the protests that they would otherwise be facing this next week. So, you know, presumably it's not going to be as bad as it could have been if she had.
I don't know. You know, it's a funny thing. Again, just a little bit of logic in play. We saw it play out in Ferguson on Friday night. The protesting on the 10th anniversary of Michael Brown's killing. And the police chief, after the fact, and after one of his officers suffered a severe brain injury, he's fighting for his life, last we heard, was, you know, what are you protesting against? It's not the same department. We've acceded to all your demands. So we changed our uniforms because that was triggering. And the composition of the police department is it's half black. It's a quarter women, and so on and so forth. So what are you protesting? And the point isn't what are they protesting. The point is what he just said. It was a Fox Butterfield moment, and he didn't realize it. Why are they protesting? Is because of your appeasement. They recognize that you showed them this is how you get what you want. This is how you get political power. So it doesn't matter if there's any legitimacy to their protest or any basis for it. They just know they need to do this to have demands to get what they want.
Right. Look, I mean, you're still seeing hecklers at Kamala Harris's rallies. So I guess there's still going to be something. I'm just saying that apparently the fear of those types of protests and trying to reduce them, even if they don't eliminate them, I mean, it was involved in her choice of who was her running mate.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and the population in Dearborn, Michigan, and the Socialist Spice Girls, and the rest of the anti-Semitic element in the Democrat Socialist Party. By the way, they'll be protesting Jelly Belly here too. They'll be protesting Pritzker. I mean, Pritzker is I know he doesn't like to say it very loud, but he is pro the state of Israel. He was against the ceasefire resolution that was passed in the city council. So don't think that these anti-Semitic anarchists are not aware of that too.
Yeah, sure.
John Lott. Go ahead, John.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, I hope people generally realize that this isn't a problem just in Chicago, that this is a national problem with regard to law enforcement. And, if we ignore these huge increases that we've seen in violent crime, and it's amazing to me how the media just wants to keep pushing this narrative for two reasons. One is to try to help the Democrats by trying to convince people don't believe your eyes or what you're hearing about crime or when you talk to neighbors being attacked. Just want to look at reported crime and not total. But also trying with regard to this narrative with regard to illegals, saying, well, look, we've had this massive increase, maybe 11 million plus illegals that we know of, plus God only knows how many that we didn't see come across, and crime hasn't gone up.
John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, former senior advisor for research and stats at DOJ's Office of Legal Policy, and the author of books including Gun Control Myths and More Guns, Less Crime. John, thanks as always.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
You've worked hard and accumulated wealth, but you know the pitfalls involved in passing significant assets to your heirs. The team at Spahn Financial will help you feel secure with personalized financial planning to achieve your legacy goals. They anticipate and manage all your wealth planning needs and focus on the full financial picture, including tax efficiency, income distribution throughout retirement, philanthropic giving, estate planning, and more. They even help you prepare the next generation to be good stewards. Kevin Spahn is a 2024 Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisor and Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisor. Visit SpahnFinancial.com to schedule a consultation and to view disclosures. That's SPAHNFinancial.com. Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisors List, April 2024. Data as of 6/30/2023. Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisors List, March 2024. Data as of 9/30/2023. No compensation provided for ratings. Marketing fees apply to promote ratings.
Fellas, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low testosterone. Don't wait. Get checked by the experts at Low T Center. They have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results with testosterone therapy, or TRT. For established patients, they offer the convenience of physician-monitored at-home TRT with advanced, personalized plans that include both lab testing and self-inject medication. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
3 reasons I ditched my old school deodorant and made the switch to Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. First, Lumi is crazy effective. It controls odor in a new way and keeps me fresher longer. Second, it's a whole body deodorant that works on every nook and cranny. You know, the ones we all have. My pits, even feet, use it anywhere. Third, Lumi was created by an OBGYN. I don't know about you, but knowing Lumi was formulated by an OBGYN who knows all about safety below the belt is super reassuring. Experience a new way to control odor longer that works everywhere. There's a special offer for listeners. Go to LumiDeodorant.com and use code WORKS and get 15% off your first purchase with code WORKS, like the Lumi Starter Pack, acidified body wash, or new Lumi Plus Sweat Control. That's LumiDeodorant.com, code WORKS for 15% off your first purchase. Love it, or return it for free. That's LumiDeodorant.com, code WORKS to save 15% today.
As everyone can tell, we're living in turbulent times. During times of uncertainty like World War II and 9/11, people have often turned to God. In times like these, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, Illinois reminds all Americans of the ancient promise found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. This is not a political statement. It's a call to all God-fearing Americans to do as God's word instructs. America needs healing now. Whether you're for the guy on the left or the right or neither, everyone needs to heed the word of God as 2 Chronicles instructs us. May God bless all our leaders and God bless the USA. This message is brought to you by Fox Valley Coins on Route 59, Naperville, Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
I'm not going to ask you if you have anything to add.
No, it's your signature line.
No.
Go ahead, ask me.
No.
No, ask me.
Deputy, do you have anything to add?
No. It's my Tommy Lee Jones impersonation.
And you nailed it. All right, thanks so much to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now, here's Mike Scott.
The Dalton police chief indicted. Street closures started ahead of the DNC. WIND Chicago News.